Call our meeting to order. This is our regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. And we're going to start out with moments of silence. We do have several today, and we'll start with Supervisor Sabatier.
So I have two. Thank you very much. I'll start with the one that I have here in writing. This is for Mark Don Dillinger, born on March 31st, 1954 in Buffalo, New York, who passed away on May 14th, 2026 in Moscow, Idaho. Mark's early years were spent in Detroit before he attended Mid-Park High School in Cleveland, Ohio. He went on to pursue higher education, earning a bachelor's degree from Northern Arizona University in Earth Science and a Master of Science degree Geography from the College of Mines at the University of Idaho. Throughout his career, Mark contributed to several institutions, including the Oregon Institute of Technology in Klamath Falls, Oregon, the city of West Richland, Washington, and the county of Lake. He served as the Geothermal Resource Coordinator, Resource Manager, and Specialist District Administrator for the county of Lake, overseeing multiple water, sewer, and electrical districts. He was a major force in the implementation of the Southeast Geysers Effluent Pipeline and the Clear Lake Basin 2000 projects in Lake County, California. After a dedicated career with numerous awards for his commitment to Lake County and the geothermal steam field development, Mark retired from special districts in 2016. He moved back to Moscow, Idaho in August of 2019, where he continued to work as a consultant on utility and geothermal concerns in California. Mark had a variety of interests and hobbies that enriched his life. He enjoyed waterfowl and upland game hunting, retriever training, AKC hunt tests, savoring red wine, traveling, and studying geology. These passions reflect a well-lived and a deep connection with science, nature, and exploration. Mark is survived by his wife, Carol Dillinger, son Jared, Diana, and beloved grandson Leo Dillinger, his son Quinn, and Veronica, I guess that would be who their partners are, Melissa Dillinger with Kurt, and he was preceded in death by his father, Maurice Dillinger, and his mother, Helen Dillinger, and his sister, Michelle Peterson. His family and friends will remember Mark for his dedication to his work, his family, his love of the outdoors, interest in renewable energy, and the meaningful relationships he built throughout his life with numerous friends all across the country. In lieu of flowers, the family would invite you to leave a donation of charities dearest to Mark. One of the reasons that we wanted to make sure and make this moment of silence is Mark Dillinger did have a huge presence here in Lake County with a huge impact, and continued till his last days to work with not only the geothermal facilities here in Lake County, but also to help out during the spill that we had in the city of Clear Lake with his knowledge that he had of the infrastructure. My next one is a personal one. Paul Comer passed away. Paul Comer is from the city of Clear Lake. I met Paul when I started working on the nonprofit group Lake Community Pride Foundation. Lake Community Pride Foundation was running a youth safe house facility in the city of Clear Lake for youth that were finding themselves in very difficult home situations or entirely homeless. He helped run that facility with Bill McDougall and many others for probably about 15 years. I know I was there for at least 10 years while he was there. Paul Comer was one of the kindest human beings you could probably meet. And the way that he loved his family is something that you just don't get to see every single day. His daughter, many people may know his daughter, Tracy Lar. She was doing the wonderful theatrical performances. She was the teacher at Lower Lake High School. And Paul Comer was at every single one of those shows, advertising for those shows, fundraising for those shows, and doing anything and everything he can do to support his family. And he leaves behind his wife, Kitty Comer, who is also an amazing person as well. And he will be dearly missed in the city of Clear Lake and to me personally.
Thank you. Supervisor Pyska.
I'd like to dedicate this moment of silence to George Klein. He was quite a large personality in Cobb and in Kelseyville, raised his kids. His kids went through Cobb School and Kelseyville, and one of his sons works in corrections, and he lived a big life and loved everyone around him fiercely.
Thank you. And this morning, I would like to offer a moment of silence for longtime Lakeport and Lake County resident Ron Rose. My fellow supervisors may not be aware, but Ron actually ran for supervisor on this board 2 times many years ago. From the time I got elected in 2024 until just earlier this year, Ron would call me on a regular basis to offer advice or give me historical information. Ron was lovingly known around the community. He passed away peacefully on May 7th, 2026, at the age of 91. He was born on September 6, 1934, in Santa Clara, California, to Luis and Blanche Rose. Ron lived a life filled with laughter, resilience, hard work, and unwavering love for his family. Ron proudly served this country in the California National Guard, enlisting at the age of 18 and serving until 1958. In 1957, he met the love of his life, June Bear, at Johnny Mac's Drive-In in Mountain View, where June was a car hop on roller skates. Their love story became one for the ages, and after Ron's honorable discharge, they moved to Lake County, where they built their beautiful life together. Ron and June shared an extraordinary 69 years of marriage. He lovingly referred to her as his June bug and June baby, and took immense pride in having her by his side. He was a hardworking and dedicated provider. He was a member of the Operating Engineers Local 3 union before founding Ron Rose Construction and later opening Ace Concrete. Ron believed deeply in hard work, integrity, and always providing for the family. Through the years, he helped train many young members of this community, teaching them skills that they still use in their employment today. He took great pride in mentoring others and helping people build strong careers. Ron had a lifelong passion for racing. He never missed an opportunity to watch his sons, Rick and Mike, race at the Lakeport Speedway. As the years went on, his grandsons, Roman, Dylan, and Kenny, proudly joined the tradition, continuing the family legacy that brought generations together. Ron could always be found cheering from the stands, proud of every Rose who took the track. His love for racing extended beyond the Lakeport Speedway. He was instrumental in securing the land and permits that became Delbert's Memorial Raceway down in South Lakeport. It was a family-owned and operated go-kart track that became a place of joy, competition, and family memories for generations. Ron was also known as the Miracle Man of God, though he faced at least 8 or 9 serious medical issues over the years that could have taken him from us. He always found a way to recover and persevere. He often joked that he had 9 lives, and his strength, determination, and positive spirit inspired everyone around him. There will be a celebration of life at 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 20th at Medina's Watering Hole in Lakeport, California. Thank you. Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask the KCOR organization to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Do we have any extra items that not appearing on the agenda?
We do not, Chair.
Okay. We'll move on to approval of the consent agenda. And at this time, I need to pull items 5.3 and item 5.23. Are there any other items that members of the board wish to pull? Not seeing any. Is there anyone in the public who wishes us to pull any items for discussion. Any online, Carolyn? Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Chair, I motion to approve items 5.1, 5.2, 5.4 through 5.22, and then 5.24.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries 5-0. And at this point, we'll go ahead and open up our public comment period. Do we have anyone in the room who wishes to speak this morning?
Good morning, Board. Catherine Vanderwall, Agricultural Commissioner. This morning I wanted to provide an update on the glassy wing sharpshooter incident that you may have heard about. On May 20th, County Ag Commissioners received notification that shipments of grape plants from Birchall Nursery in Fresno County were sent to multiple Costco locations throughout the state. These plants were infested with glassy wing sharpshooter and shipped without the proper paperwork notifying the receiving stores that an inspection was required. County ag officials throughout the state responded to perform inspections at Costco locations. It was later determined that other fruit trees, including blueberry plants, were also shipped from this nursery. Glassy wing sharpshooter is an invasive insect that spreads Pierce's disease. This disease is caused by a bacterium, which then clogs the water-conducting vessels in the plant. This disease not only impacts grapevines, but a variety of other plants. Lake County is currently not known to have this insect or disease present in the county. As of June 1st, my staff have responded to 15 properties with plants purchased from neighboring Costco stores. My staff have been collecting these plants with the homeowner's permission and having them fully inspected at the office before properly destroying them. Additionally, we are placing traps at the properties and will be monitoring these traps on a weekly basis. So far, we have submitted 2 suspect samples to the state lab, both of which came back negative. Another sample was submitted yesterday, and we are waiting on the results. I would like to encourage anyone from the public who has purchased plants from any Costco location from April 21st through May 22nd to contact my office at 707-263-0217. Thank you.
Thank you for providing that information.
What was the last date? I'm sorry. What were the dates purchased?
April 21st through May 22nd.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the room who wishes to speak this morning? Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to just share something about how things become the norm. Things become the norm through, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Darn it. Oh, well. All right. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to go with what I was going to say after this. So how do things become the norm? We just accept something new comes up and everybody kind of jumps on the bandwagon, and then there's some fear that comes in, and then some people will drop off. And the longer things keep being accepted the way they are, then the next thing you know, it's become a normality. So a norm turns into something that just becomes normal. For the last, this is now March, April, May, June, 4 months, we're all getting used to writing an extra $60 a month to Caritas. It's becoming normal while we wait for a rent stabilization ordinance. It's becoming normal for a woman in our park who's 94 to ask her son to now pay this. It's becoming normal for the people who are putting their houses up for sale that because of the pass-through fees that everybody's aware of when it comes time to purchase one of these, that it's now normal that there's going to be an extra $60 a month that they're going to have to pay. This doesn't affect Caritas. Caritas is going to get their money no matter who lives in that home. They don't care if it's a 94-year-old person or a new 55-year-old person who moved up from somewhere that can actually afford it. And actually, they're waiting for that new norm to take place. They're waiting. We have multiple people in nursing homes right now, or they've gone to live with their children, or their adult children are helping them pay their bills because of this new norm that we have. I know that things are being worked on, but I don't want this to become a normal thing. In August, it started, and it with the talk of a rent stabilization ordinance, and it kind of dropped off, and it's picked back up. And my purpose is to keep it in the forefront and hopefully be put on an agenda and hopefully help these people, all of us, one day, because here it is, June 2nd. I continue to let Umpqua Bank send my one check, which I've always done, to Caritas, and I personally handwrite the other check. And that, unfortunately, is becoming normal. So I hope you act soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. Do we have anyone online, Carolyn? Stephanie P., if you could state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Paceno here on Robin Lane. I had more of a question. Since the incident command team has been dissolved, which agency or entity is now responsible for ongoing oversight? And who's going to be accountable to ensure that monitoring and testing and communication continue to move forward? I would like the answer to that. Thank you.
I can't give a specific definitive answer, but I would say give me a call and we'll talk. You know how to get a hold of me. Or actually, I'll get a hold of you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Yes, we have Sterling.
Sterling? Go ahead.
Good morning. I did have 2 things added to the public comment for the agenda. Hopefully you guys got to read them. So one, I went through the CIP stuff and just did a couple of the pages. And my concern is that we are putting millions of dollars into solar AC units. There's one project that is going to be a park development for Cobb that is getting around over $4 million. And Spring Valley has been on there for an evacuation route over Old Long Valley, which it shows only around 10,000 is being allocated to that for the next 5 years. My concern is that we are doing things for AC, solar. I understand these are essential and needing them, but it's also comfort of people. And here in Spring Valley, we're literally asking you guys for a second exit route for Spring Valley, especially now that North Shore Fire might be going bankrupt. They are laying people off. We're going into major fire season, and Spring Valley is now stuck with having to keep coming here and ask you guys what is going on. My other thing that I posted is about the Energy Ad Hoc Committee. Our 2050 general plan's coming up for September. It's going to approach very fast. If we can get any updates to the public to know what's going on with the energy policy, like I've expressed before, AB 531 will completely screw us and the community members here. And we're doing this all behind closed doors. So if we can please get an update on that and people can know what's going on and we can have our input, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any others?
We do. Zoom user 1.
Zoom user 1, if you could state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
Skyly Wall, Pillsbury Family Farms. And the more I participate in our local government, the more I understand why people call it the good old boys system. The good old boys system isn't defined by what is written in an ordinance. It is a mindset. It is defined by what is tolerated. It is defined by who is protected. And it is defined by which rules matter and which rules can be ignored. The public is expected to live by honesty, integrity, accountability, transparency, responsibility, and above all, respect for the law. Those are the values that our government demands from us. But again, what values are being demonstrated by the leadership of this board that chooses to defend bad government employees? We see concealment, deflection, selective enforcement, excuses, and protections of insiders instead of protection of the public. And those are not just the values of the department. This becomes the values that this government stands behind. When this board repeatedly defends conduct, ignores concerns, and tolerates behaviors that would never be accepted from the public, you are telling the people exactly what standards mattered in Lake County. The public has watched these concerns be dismissed, and we watched ordinance deadlines come and go. We watched as internal emails, internal memos, unwritten practices carry more weight than the ordinances and the policies and the penal codes that are supposed to govern this county. What good are those ordinance, penal codes, and regulations if they can be set aside whenever they become inconvenient for the government? What good are these policies if internal practices become the real law? What good is public participation if decisions have already been made behind the scenes? This is why the trust continues to erode when government says one thing and does another. Trust erodes when the rules appear to apply differently depending on who you are. The government earns legitimacy through its conduct, and when conduct no longer matches the principles being preached, people begin to question whether they are witnessing public service or simply preservation of power. As Malcolm X once warned, if you are not careful, those in power will have you believing the people asking questions are the problem, rather than the people who are refusing to provide the answers. Muleham.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just make a comment about last week's bomb threats that affected all the schools around the county. And I just want to commend our sheriff, command staff, everyone in the sheriff's office and across his team, everyone that works in the schools, the superintendents, the administration, the teachers. Everybody worked in one direction to ensure the safety of our kids and everyone that works on campuses. It was a big effort. As a parent, I was really grateful to finally get my kids home. And as an official sitting up here, I'm really angry that someone could cause that much chaos and disruption across our county. So thank you, Sheriff. Thank you to your team. And thanks to everyone who continues to prioritize the safety of our community.
Thank you, Supervisor. And just to confirm, there wasn't anyone else online, Carolyn? No. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and we'll go to our pet of the week, who's here in the back. Looks like it's going to take him a minute to get here with you. Wants to say hi.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Officer Real with Lake County Animal Care and Control. This is Jax. Jax is a 7 to 8 month old shepherd mix that we picked up down in Middletown. He's a happy boy, gets along with other dogs, and is an absolute cuddle bug. So if you guys are looking for an adventure dog, couch potato, anything of the sort, come on down to Lake County Animal Care and Control. We're at 4949 Helpless Drive right behind the jail. You say hi?
Thank you. Any comments on pet of the week? He's definitely friendly. Yeah. Thank you for coming in this morning, and at this point we'll move on to our 6.3, which is our 906 item, presentation of proclamation recognizing Kelseyville High School K-Corps class, graduating class of 2026, and we'll invite all of the K-Corps up here with Vice Chair Pyska.
Come on in. Make yourselves comfortable. You might need to go.
I appreciate that you guys were able to make it here this morning, and I know you had to miss some classes. We've
Going down.
been scheduling this every other year so that we catch everyone as they come through the program. All right, we got to move down.
Yep.
Keep moving. We got a big class this year. Board of Supervisors, County of Lake, State of California proclamation recognizing Kelseyville High School K-Corps graduating class of 2026. Whereas Kelseyville Community Organization for Rescue and Public Service, K-Corps, is a 2-year program in which the student is selected based on strict criterion and academic abilities. And whereas the students work directly with the Lake County Sheriff's Office and are on call for 2 years, 24 hours a day. And whereas the members must show an ability to perform with a high degree of excellence and commitment. Whereas the senior members assist the K-Corps teacher, Mrs. Larson, with training the junior members. And whereas all members become trained in high-angle rope rescue navigational systems using maps, compasses, and GPS search techniques, including evidence, search and body recovery, leading to certification as a first responder. Whereas these Kelseyville High School students have self-initiative and demonstrate exceptional dedication to themselves and the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lake County Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize the Kelseyville High School K-Corps graduating class of 2026 who are guided by their focus on the school's expectations of student learners, safe, respectful, responsible, and strive to achieve academic and personal success while giving back to their community. Passed and adopted this second day of June and signed June 2026 and signed by the chair of the Board of Supervisors. So I want to thank all of you for your service. You are always out and about in our community. I see you volunteering. I see you showing up in every way. I know you're on call 24/7 and you've been out doing some things that all of us don't know about. And thank you for that work too. And I do want to invite the Sheriff and Lieutenant Frace up here to say a few words. There was something that Lieutenant Frace said a few years ago that stuck in my mind, and I don't think I'll get it quite right. But he said the strength of a community is dependent on its volunteers. And you are that strength. And you are also our future leaders. So I hope that as you go out in the world, seniors, that you take this love of community with you wherever you go. And to the Greenies, you've had a great example this year. And I will see you next year at the award ceremony.
Well, I'd just like to start with saying thank you. I don't get to often see you guys very often out there, but the work that you guys have done supporting the Sheriff's Office and our search and rescue team is phenomenal. We can't do that without you guys. Having you come out and support our teams in whatever capacity you do makes a difference in the searches that we're able to conduct and the services we provide to our community. So I thank you all for that. Appreciate that. Those seniors that are graduating, good luck in your future and whatever you decide to do in those endeavors. I do challenge you with this, though. You've now committed yourself to a bit of service in your high school career at this point, and I challenge you to continue that in your life. Service to your community and service to others is one of the best things you can do for yourself and your community. The pride that you have in that and the pride that your community gets in the service and the benefits to the community are huge. So I challenge you to continue that in your life. In whatever capacity you choose to do, please at some point continue the service to your community and your fellow citizens. Thank you very much.
Any comments from board members?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Ready to take a picture?
I don't want to interrupt.
Somebody or was there 13? I have this one too. For you. All right, let's take a picture. Maybe we scoot together for the picture. What do you think, Trevor? Why don't we come up here to this front row here? All right. Can't see you.
Let me go in the back. Let me go in the back.
All right.
Carolyn's in the picture.
Get up so that they can see you.
1, 2, 3. Big smiles from everybody. Perfect. Thank you.
Good work, everyone.
It'd be nice to see this expand to other schools.
Yeah.
It's a great program.
It was in Middletown. Would it be the M Corps? Is it K Corps for another reason, and it just happens to be in California?
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, it can only be in schools
I
with a
guess
K.
I've never asked that question.
It's a good question. Leave it to you to think of it.
It sounds right.
You're leaving in your truck. I know. Yes, I will. And I'll never see you. So I appreciate
All right, at this time, we're going to take up item 5.3, which is adopt a proclamation designated June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+, Pride Month in Lake County, and B, authorize the LGBTQIA2S+ Pride flag to be displayed at the county courthouse for the month of June. And the reason that we needed to pull this is because we've got a second flag, the America 250, that we're also trying to make sure we can get both of those displayed. And I think there's some options where we can figure that out to cover both of them. Do you want to go ahead?
So I know there's been some understanding that we want to do something for the 250th birthday of the United States. So there's already a flag on our pole. Option one would be, can we double up the flags and have the 250th anniversary flag with the Pride flag on that pole? If it's not able to have two flags, because I'm not sure if that pole is rated for that, we do have a flag post, whatever it's called, like the one right behind us. We have two flags in our board offices. We could take one of those out and replace it with the Pride flag and put it in our lobby so that whenever people walk into our lobby. So that would be part A. Let's put it out for everybody to see when they drive by the courthouse. Part B, let's put it in the lobby with a simple flag that we can exchange for what's in our offices.
Go ahead, Supervisor Vice.
Didn't we also put it on the wall before we had the other?
There's another one on the wall already. If you look up, it
What's
says
the banner?
1776 to
Oh, yeah.
2026. It's a big
Oh, we had that
picture.
banner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just saw it this morning too.
I'm okay with doubling them up. I think that's fine.
I don't know if it's appropriate.
Well, one thing we don't know is if we don't know if the flagpole has the hooks on it or if it's rated for two flags at this point. And I don't know when we're going to get an answer on that. I think the third option would be splitting it and doing half of June and then putting the other one up.
Well, then we're going into the 4th of July.
Well, but if it went up at middle of June, it would be there for the 4th of July. The 250 would, is what
I kind of liked the idea inside.
And the pole that was installed is specifically installed for, what's the right term? Celebratory purposes like proclamations, the MMIP flag, and things like that. And so that's why the 250th flag, it's not a American flag, it's a specific celebratory flag. So to me, it's, if we can double it up, awesome. That's the priority. If we can't, let's go ahead and make sure we get something in the lobby to not just proclaim it today, but make sure it's seen throughout the month of June in our lobby in the courthouse.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We can just give those two priorities and staff can figure that out.
Okay, let's open it up to the public. Is there any?
Yeah, I heard you mention, one of you mentioned that, because I remember with the MMIP flag, we put it up on the building before.
Yeah, that's the one that right now there's a banner in that exact same space.
There's already, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It just popped up. It just popped up.
Okay, let's open it to the public. Is there anybody in the room? Not seeing any. Is there anyone online? No. So bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Guintavano, is it possible to do both actions, the adopting the proclamation and authorizing the flag, or is that two separate?
That can be done as one motion, and
Okay.
then with, under subsection B, the, as it relates to the flag, your board may want to, as part of the motion.
specific.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move to adopt proclamation designating June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month in Lake County, and authorize the pride flag to be displayed in the county courthouse on the flag pole if it's appropriate, or else in our lobby with the Public Works making the final decision.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. Now we're going to go back to our timed items and 6.4 item 9:08 a.m., which is presentation of proclamation designating June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month in Lake County. And everyone is welcome to join Supervisor Sabatier up here on the dais.
Hi.
Yes, please. Pride allies are always welcome. Good seeing you, Corey. Watch out for the TV behind you. All right, thank you everybody for joining me up here, or joining us up here. Proclamation designated June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month in Lake County. Whereas the United States was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and the fulfillment of this promise has expanded over the years to cover all people. Some of the most inspiring moments in our history have arisen from civil rights movements, bringing one group after another under the umbrella of our most revered and foundational principle of American society. And whereas in the movement toward equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, LGBTQIA2S+, and the people of all gender identities and sexual orientations, a historic turning point occurred on June 28, 1969 in New York City with the onset of the Stonewall riots. During these riots, LGBTQIA2S+ citizens rose up and resisted police harassment that arose out of discriminatory criminal laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. In the 4 decades since, civil rights for LGBTQIA2S+ people have grown substantially, and pride celebrations have taken place around the world and in the United States every June to commemorate the beginning of the Stonewall riots. And whereas California has been a leader in advancing the civil rights of its LGBTQIA2S+ citizens, and while further progress is needed, it is important to recognize and celebrate the substantial gains that have been achieved. And whereas several of Lake County's local elected leaders have not only represented their constituents, but also the LGBTQIA2S+ community within Lake County. The Board of Supervisors also recognizes the many staff members who are a part of the LGBTQIA2S+ community and serve Lake County with distinction and honor. And whereas LGBTQIA2S+ Americans remain marginalized and under attack through legislation in states across our country, the Lake County Board of Supervisors stands firm against intolerance, discrimination, and injustice, and is deeply committed to fostering communities where all people can live free and authentic lives. And whereas lesbian, gay, and bisexual communities within the Rural Association of Northern California Health Officers Region, 11 rural Northern California counties, face numerous disparities, elevated levels of poor health, increased smoking and heavy alcohol consumption, suicidal thoughts, higher poverty rates, domestic violence, and deferred medical care. Alarmingly, half of this community has seriously contemplated suicide. And whereas LGBTQIA2S+ residents in Lake County represent our families, our friends, our neighbors, our teachers, our employees, and our community leaders. Across all religions, races, and communities, there are LGBTQIA2S+ people helping our nation to become a more perfect union in reaching our ideals proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence, that all people are created equal and therefore deserve to be embraced and treated as equals. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Lake County Board of Supervisors does hereby designate June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month in Lake County and urges all to educate themselves on the history, struggles, and the many achievements of this community and celebrate the rich and vibrant diversity of LGBTQIA2S+ residents in Lake County. Passed and adopted the second day of June 2026 and signed by our board chair. Would somebody like to speak?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors and for everyone who's here today to, hear the proclamation of designating the June 2026 LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month. I am Layla Romero. I am the Health Equity Coordinator for Lake County Health Services, and we are hosting a Pride Fair this month on June 28th. That's a Sunday at Austin Park from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's going to be a lot of games and activities, resource booths, vendors. We've got the library doing storybook readings in the morning and afternoon, as well as some workshops. And one of the big things that we're trying to do with the Pride Fair is make sure that all queer and trans community members, youth, families, and loved ones feel safe and welcome in Lake County, because being in public health, we know that social community context is a social determinant of health. It is affecting people's health outcomes. We heard in the proclamation that up to 50% of our queer community members in Northern California experience suicidal ideations. That is compared to the 17% of the rest of the population in the rural north. We know that 28% of our queer community members are below the federal poverty level versus 16%. 62% of our queer community members experience 3 or more ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, versus 39%, and 33% delayed medical care versus 18%. And we know that a major cause of delaying medical care is fear of experiencing bias and prejudice from providers. We hold this event because every person in our community deserves to feel safe and be healthy. And so we want to show our support, show awareness that queer community members are here, we exist, we are children, siblings, parents, friends, loved ones, and we deserve to experience our highest health outcomes just the same as everyone else. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Raven Wilczewski, born and raised in Lake County, longtime resident. I just wanted to announce that the Harbor on Main Youth Resource Center with Redwood Community Services will be hosting our 4th annual Pride Prom for LGBTQ plus youth in Lake County. That is the age range for the Harbor Youth Resource Center, which is 14 to 25. The past 3 years that we've been holding this event, we have had over 160 attendees. all of which were surveyed after the event and reported that they felt safe, seen, and heard during the course of the event. This year, it will be on June 13th at the Lake County Fairgrounds from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. All youth who wish to attend just need to scan the QR code on our flyer or go to our Facebook page at RCS Harbor. It's going to be a great event. We have so many raffle prizes. The theme this year is Y2K, so we're throwing it back to 2000, the year that most icons were born. And it's going to be a blast. If anybody is interested, I've left some flyers up here for people to take. On the back side is all of our safety acknowledgments and policies and procedures for safety. This is just a amazing event that truly helps the LGBTQ plus youth in our community feel seen and supported in a space that is truly meant for them and welcoming to them. Thank you. That's a great point. It's also free. I forgot that.
Board members? And we'll open it to the public. Is there anyone in the public? Not seeing any. Anyone online? No? And thank you for bringing this today and for being here. And I think we'll get a picture. And we're going to move on to our 6.5, 9, 10 item, which is presentation of proclamation designating June 2026 as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month in Lake County, and Supervisor Crandall will be issuing this proclamation. And if you're here for this, please come up and join Supervisor Crandall.
I always like doing this proclamation. When I started as a supervisor, I immediately joined the Area Agency on Aging. My grandfather was a victim of elder abuse. And one thing that I like to just mention is that we have a lot of seniors that are vulnerable. And there are a lot of seniors that aren't vulnerable. They're still, doing things today. They're still, independent, and, they handle themselves well. But, a lot of people in their lives, they give their all to their work. Their body and their mind sometimes deteriorates, and that's just the way of life. And so, unfortunately, there's just people that prey on these folks. They get lonely. They don't have family. And so there's people that know that and take advantage, and that's sad. But this is why we do this, and this is why we remind each other that we need to check on our seniors and elders, and we need to help when you see someone being taken advantage of. So I'll read this proclamation. Designating June 2026 as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month in Lake County. Whereas Lake County's elders and dependent adults are valued members of our community who deserve to be treated with respect, dignity, and compassion. And whereas elder and dependent adult abuse, including physical, emotional, financial, and neglect, is a serious and often underreported issue that affects individuals, families, and communities. And whereas the County of Lake recognizes the importance of taking action to create social change, prioritize the prevention of elder and dependent adult abuse, and raise awareness to foster a better understanding of abuse, neglect, and the rights of older adults. And whereas education, outreach, and collaboration among local organizations, law enforcement, health professionals, and advocacy groups are critical to safeguarding the well-being of elders and dependent adults. And whereas the County of Lake is committed to protecting elders and dependent adults through the dedicated efforts of our local Adult Protective Services Agency and law enforcement partners. Whereas observing Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month provides an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to protecting vulnerable populations and to encourage all residents to take an active role in prevention and reporting. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lake County Board of Supervisors, along with the Lake County Department of Social Services, hereby designates June 2026 as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month in Lake County. Passed and adopted this second day of June 2026. Signed, Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Brad Rasmussen.
Thank you, Supervisor Crandall and Board, for this proclamation. I want to acknowledge our wonderful staff who are here today, who are not just here every day. I mean, not just here today, they're here every day supporting our elderly, disabled, dependent adults, protecting them. They're a truly dedicated team. And with your partnership and the partnership of the community, our goal is always to keep the elderly and disabled safe. So within our adult services branch, we have several different groups of staff working towards those efforts. We include in-home supportive services, helping folks remain in their homes safely instead of entering long-term care. Adult protective services, who you may be most familiar with, or who report 24/7 to reports allegations of abuse. We also have our public authority, who maintains the list of IHSS eligible providers. We have public guardian and public administrator. We also have our area agency on aging, who works in coordination with many of our senior centers to boost their food programs and other services they provide to all seniors within our community, as well as our long-term care ombudsman, keeping the folks out there in long-term care safe, also reporting 24/7 to concerns within our long-term care facilities. So, if the public needs to make a report regarding concerns for adult protective services, the phone number is 707-995-4244, answered 24/7, as well as our long-term care ombudsman, 707-262-4525. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that right now we're fighting to protect what services are available statewide in regard to adult services. HR 1 has created ripple effects, and the state is being asked to fill the gap for many things. IHSS funding was certainly threatened, as well as adult protective services funding. I am pleased to say that the state Senate and Assembly have pushed back on the state May revised budget, and I am hopeful that we will see a good final budget so that we can continue to provide the same level of service we are currently providing. And I need to thank the CAO's office and the Board of Supervisors in helping with those advocacy efforts to protect the most vulnerable in our community, in accordance with our governance board meeting goals that we set back in the beginning of the year. So thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Amy Szymanski. I'm the Deputy Director over the Adult Services Branch. I think Rachel covered most of what's going on, but I just wanted to throw in another acknowledgement towards the community, towards the board for their advocacy during these hard times, and Rachel always being out there in our corner. And to all of our staff, I have representatives from each of those divisions here today. Many more are out in the field taking care of those reports and seeing our clients. And they're a truly amazing bunch that humble me every day. So I appreciate the proclamation today and the ability to raise awareness. Thank you.
Anything from board members? Anybody in the public? Online, Carolyn? No, thank you for this proclamation today, and with that, we'll get a picture.
Thank you, everyone. I know. Up here.
Okay, we're going to move over to item 7.3, which is consideration request to schedule a special meeting workshop regarding behavioral health, fiscal stabilization, and reform readiness. And I believe we have behavioral health services online. If we could pull them up, Carolyn. LUCH.
Good morning, board. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. So we are requesting to host a special meeting to provide a focused fiscal presentation to the board. The presentation would cover the department's current fiscal status, cash flow concerns, any pending revenue, IGT, state payment timing, outstanding obligations, and projected needs. We would like to have it as a special meeting because it is a very in-depth discussion and behavioral health funding is a complex topic. And if we are granted the special meeting, it gives us the ability to present the information clearly and transparently with enough time to really do a deep dive.
Okay. Any questions from board members before we open it up to the public? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak? Anybody online? Bring it back to the board for any discussion. Did you have something or no? Okay. I'm in favor of the special meeting. I know there's a lot of complexities with the budget going on. I believe we're looking at a couple hours for this.
Yes.
2.5 hour presentation. Okay. And so if there's nothing else from the board, we'd be ready for action.
Mr. Chair, I move, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
First, and then I'll go. We plan to place this within our budget hearings, so I don't have a date yet. Do you need a date? Because they just. Yes, we'll notice when we decide what date it will be of those 3 dates. We'll properly notice it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So 15, 16, or 17? Okay.
Okay. Ready for action?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the scheduling of a special meeting of the Board of Supervisors in June 2026 for a behavioral health fiscal stabilization and reform readiness workshop with the date and time to be coordinated by the Clerk of the Board, County Administrative Office, and Board Chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries 5-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. It's not 10 o'clock.
30 seconds.
It will be.
Do you want to take up the other pulled item since it's related to the same department first?
And I think it's coming back a different week.
Yes,
Oh,
sir. You can take it
5.23?
up, and it's to be
Oh, that's-
continued to a date to be determined.
Okay. So we can, I guess, just wait a few more seconds.
Which one's being continued?
We're going to handle item 6.6. You guys can start coming up. It'll be 10 o'clock by the time. Sorry?
It's 10.
It's 10 now.
Internet says it's time.
Okay. My iWatch now says 10. So I'm going to call item 6.6, 10 a.m. hearing, setting as the Lake County Sanitation District Board of Directors. Consideration of second reading of an ordinance amending Section 721B of the Sewer Use Ordinance Appendix A of the Lake County Ordinance Code, increasing sewer use fees for South Lakeport, Land's End, and Reeves Point, AD 9-1 and AD 9-3. And we have special districts and our consultant here. I'll turn it over to you, Director.
Good morning, Board. So this item was the first.
I don't think your mic's on.
Mike,
It's on. Yeah.
is it? Is that working, Sam?
I can just talk loud.
Is it working? Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, it's totally different. Huh? So this item came before you a couple weeks ago where we gave you the presentation of the rate study. We went through, some adjustments were made. This ordinance before you is a second reading, and it does reflect all of the changes, smoothing the rates a little bit without violating any of the overages per year. Both Allison, our consultant, is here, as well as Jesse, if there's any additional questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions from board?
No, I just have a comment. I am going to support it, as I had mentioned, brought up the 50%, changing it. It's just really unfortunate. I don't like it. And I just do wish that we'd had more of the rate studies from like areas. And so as long as this is absolutely necessary and needed, we're going to have to go with it.
Supervisor Sabatier.
I appreciate that there's flexibility to the point that we were able to make some of the changes that we did last time. It feels a little bit better, even though in the long run it really is the same thing. So I do appreciate that part. I do have one comment and one question. One comment is I completely feel and understand my colleague in her expression of the difficulties when we don't do these every 5 years, that it's that much more of an increase. But I still believe in my heart of hearts that the concept of consolidation between districts is going to help to level things out, where a district of 200 people cannot possibly afford to pay for the same type of infrastructure that thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, are paying for. So to me, not consolidating under one umbrella, because that's already done, but consolidating it financially so that we have more stability. And my example for that is like the large wildfires that we've experienced, to support yourself by yourself as one entity versus the rest of the county being able to support you to come back to life and rebuild that community is a resilience that we still don't have at this moment. There were some changes due to the major fires that we've had, but I really feel that that is our next steps in helping level out the cost and being able to build resiliency between systems as well. So that's my comment. My last question, I was just reading through it and I hadn't noticed it last time. Why is there no difference in cost between a school with a cafeteria and showers and a school without a cafeteria and showers? It seems, I guess, awkward to even have the separation if there's not even going to be a difference. And you would suspect if there's showers and cafeteria that more water would be utilized, therefore more sewage, but it is the exact same dollar amount rate for both.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our goal was to simplify and consolidate the rate structure, so to kind of merge those two categories. And I will point out that the Land's End system doesn't even have a school.
I figured that part too, but I also want to make sure that it feels fair if one decides, like a charter school, you never know, starts out, that it just doesn't feel right that both of those are identical when obviously there's a different water use, therefore a different sewer use that would come along with that. So just putting it out there. I realize there's no impact today, but it's just something I recognized and wanted to at least put out there.
Yeah, and one other quick comment. Usually we do like 5 gallons per day per student for an elementary school with no showers, no cafeteria, and then 10 gallons per day for usually high school with showers and cafeteria, and we picked the midpoint 8 gallons. So we were kind of averaging the two potential estimated sewer flows.
Okay.
All right, and I just want to say, I mean, this district is in my district. I still think it's unfortunate that others didn't do rate studies for, I don't know, I think this one was 15 years, 16 years. So that's very unfortunate. I know my constituents were concerned about the high amounts, and so I am grateful that we were able to come to a resolution and I guess reverse those numbers so that the lower end would be the one starting now, because I did have a hard time putting those high increases on my constituents, but at the same time, after 16 years, we can't not do anything because that district would go bankrupt. It would not have the money to operate, and that could put us in a really worse situation for the folks down there and the county, because we'd be asking ourselves as the board for more money to fix those problems. So that's why I'm supporting it, because it's necessary. Supervisor Owen?
The 73%, moving down to 50%, because you guys had originally had it at 73, we moved it to 50, and then broke it out a little more over time. My question is, if we're able to, and I'm not sure, I hope we're looking at consolidating, as my colleague Mr. Sabatier had mentioned, where the rates throughout the county are more even. I surmise at that time we'll go back and revisit if we're able to get that done. Question.
Yeah, so we've applied for a grant to look at consolidating water and wastewater, primarily in the Kelseyville, Soda Bay, that would be Corinthian Bay, Finley, all those areas as well. So we're looking at opportunities where we can consolidate. Right now, our rates are based on which system they discharge to, and this system actually discharges to Lakeport. So there is the potential of this system being annexed into the city of Lakeport when they're working on their annexation, and then that will help spread the cost for them as well. So, but we are looking at wherever we can consolidate stuff, because administration-wise and being able to spread the total cost amongst multiple people is a much better system.
Yeah,
than,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I was hoping, that maybe we don't have to go through all these rate hikes if we can get something done to consolidate. Thank you.
And as I understand, if the city of Lakeport is successful in annexing that area that they've tried in the past, then the South Lakeport piece of this system is going to automatically move into the city's possession. Do I understand that part right?
I believe they actually have to go through a formal process to do that with LAFCO, but yeah, in theory that would be the process, that it would end up there. And at that point, if we're looking at just Lands End, we would probably look at combining Lands End with either Kelseyville, or seeing if Lakeport wants to continue to keep that.
Right.
And it's based on, gravity flows is kind of how the sewer systems are all put together. So to send Lands End to Kelseyville, we'd have to put in force mains and turn pumps around and stuff like that.
And that's why I brought that up, because that's going to end up leaving an even smaller county district out there. So I do think there's opportunities with we can discuss that down the road with the city. But anyway,
okay.
That was my question. Is there anything else? Go ahead.
Ready for action?
Yeah, I'm ready for action. Did we open to the public?
Oh.
No, I didn't. So I've got to open to the public. Is there anyone in the room? Yeah.
Good morning, Board. Tom Lasik. Just a couple things listening to the conversation. A lot of, wouldn't it be nice if we did X, Y, and Z? I would recommend making that a more formal direction to special districts. that you want to see risk pooling, that you want to see certain things happen so that they can come back with something that does incorporate that. I do think the risk pooling is a good idea. As already mentioned, a group of 200 households or whatever the number is on a completely different order of magnitude as someone that's, several thousand, as Mr. Sabatier mentioned. And the idea that all of those problems will happen in all those districts in the same year is probably a lot lower than, and you do have the opportunity, if the laws and the ordinances and the regulations allow it to pool that risk and make it lower for everyone.
And I believe direction has been given, hence why you're going for the grant.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, sitting as the Lake County Sanitation District Board of Directors, consideration of the second reading of an ordinance amending section 721B of the Sewer Use Ordinance, Appendix A of the Lake County Ordinance Code, increasing sewer use fees for South Lakeport, Lands End, and Reeves Point, AD 91 and AD 93.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Just as part of that motion, the ordinance can be offered since it's at second reading.
Oh,
This
I'll
one, so
offer
just
the
offer the
ordinance.
ordinance.
Okay. Ordinance has been offered.
Supervisor Owen?
Aye.
Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall?
No.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
Supervisor Rasmussen?
Aye. That carries 4-1. Thank you. And go ahead, CA. Well, let's take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Susan. I was thinking along the same lines.
Okay. We'll call our meeting back to order, and we're going to move to item 7.2, consideration of an annual PEG presentation to the Board of Supervisors, and I'll turn it over to Supervisor Sabatier.
I am sharing my screen. Let's see here if I can. Perfect. So every year, Lake County PEG TV needs to do a presentation to all jurisdictions. So I've done one already for the city of Lakeport and the city of Clear Lake. This presentation is slightly altered. I know I received a request from Vice Chair Pyska for specific information. So I made sure to provide that information in this report. This is part of our normal agreement that we have between both cities and the county with PEG, is to do this annual presentation. And this annual presentation, I'm projecting Ed Roby's thoughts. This is how we get paid by doing this presentation. Typically, Ed would walk away with a paycheck for PEG TV. And so we'll explain some of that as I go through the presentation. Let me move this first. There we go. So we do have a couple new members. We've been changing. Elections Matter makes for some change, but still have an exciting group from the city of Clear Lake. Mary Wilson is the representative. From the city of Lakeport, Christina Price is the representative. I represent the Board of Supervisors on the board. Kevin Mack, who works for Lake County Office of Education, who is involved in the IT portion of the agency, is one of our education representatives, and at large we have Tom Lasik, who has joined us recently and has taken an important role in one of the projects that we're doing. Our station manager, I am sure you've all seen him at your town halls, Thomas DeWalt, and our chief editor is Cheyenne Blue, and both work hand in hand on what's happening behind the scenes and support one another in what's happening in front of the scenes. Let me see here. So I will be talking to you guys about this current fiscal year's budget. We, just like us, need to finish our budget before the end of June. We submit these budgets to the county and the city, so they're aware of what our expectations are for the year. For this year, the big change is we've seen a 25% increase, or $25,000 increase in our revenues. Obviously, one part is due to the contract with the County of Lake, but also we are contracting with the Farm Bureau, the Lake EDC, the Chamber of Commerce, Woodland Community College, all kinds of different groups are requesting us to do work, and we are continuing to expand those services. Part of those revenues are the automatic funding mechanisms that are in our agreement. The City of Clear Lake, we do say that they provide us $10,000 every year. All of that actually is an in-kind contribution that pays for our insurance, that pays for our studio, that pays for the finance department, who works all of our incoming revenue and outgoing checks. And this also pays for our annual audit that they do as well. The City of Lakeport, after the presentation, submitted an invoice for $2,000, and the County of Lake have already submitted the invoice, and I've been requesting to wait till after this presentation, and it's $15,000. And so overall, there's $27,000, $10,000 of which is in-kind contribution that comes directly from the jurisdictions. Our contract services are starting to exceed $30,000 total with all of the services being provided. And those are just general revenues. There are other revenues as well that we receive, but those are our general ones. Our and I'm speaking specifically about our operating budget. We have two separate budgets. One is our operation, which is mostly dealing with our staff, and the other one is capital, which is mostly dealing with equipment and other purchases. So this is the operation budget. Our expenses, approximately the same of $56,000. Our station manager took in about $22,000. Our editor about $4,800. They get a stipend of $1,000 per month for the station manager and $400 per month for the editor. Then on top of that, they receive the funds that come from the contract services that they provide. And again, there's our facilities and insurance, and we've had some additional pay of $18,000, which again has gone to the folks that do work for us. Our capital budget, our revenue is from the pass-through, 1%. Mediacom, whether you pay for internet or cable, 1% of your bill goes directly to the jurisdiction in which you are purchasing that service from Mediacom. Then the City of Clear Lake, City of Lakeport, and Lake County passes that 1% through to PEG TV. There is a different franchise agreement where the county and city still receive franchise agreement funds from Mediacom, but the 1% pass-through goes directly to us. I have been working a lot in trying to ensure that our finances are accurate. There have been some gaps where the 1% pass-through has not gone to PEG. We are resolving those issues, but the good work that we're doing with the City of Clear Lake's finance team allows us to identify what is missing and what is misplaced.
Can I ask about the, yeah, it's on. No, it's not on. Can I ask about I see the budget, capital budget revenues is 40 and the expenses is 72.
Yes. So just real quick, our operational budget at this moment in time, we have about $80,000 as balance. And in our capital budget, we have about $250,000. So part of the reason that and we're actually probably going to spend about $20,000 in equipment this year. We've changed, because we made an agreement, and I'll talk to it later. You got to a question ahead of my presentation. But we have sat down with the Soper Reese Theater. We want to see a partnership between the Soper Reese Theater and PEG TV, where we're able to do videography work during their events that they provide at the Soper Reese Theater. And so we're looking at a $50,000 investment into the Soper Reese Theater for equipment to be able to do some great recording of their events that they're doing there. So that includes cameras, that includes other types of equipment to ensure that we can record all of it in very high fidelity. And that probably will not get spent until the following year. So that number should probably be revised to about $22,000 since it's a $50,000 approximate purchase. And so there's going to be times where we spend a little bit more than we take in, just because we have that balance that allows us to spend the money when we need to on the things that are identified that we should be investing in. Hopefully that answers your question. So our current activities is to support local events, support local MACs, provide more videography services to agencies that want to hire us. We've been doing a lot of great work. I was told yesterday it was 20. I thought it was 22, so let's just say 21. Interviews have been done at the Pathfinders. We sat down at the Circle of Native Minds with the Pathfinders, and Bernadine was one of our main contacts to get that all started. there's been a long process to get stories from tribal elders recorded so that they would not be forgotten. And it's taken a long time to get agreements and approvals to make that happen. And unfortunately, we have lost a lot of those elders. And so it was critical to get this agreement going and get those interviews done so that we can go ahead and get those interviews on record and archived. Now, we did a special type of agreement. We usually have a template contract that we do. Here, we wanted to make sure, because there's been misuse in the past when interviews have been done of tribal members. And so we have a living document of we approve of you showing the video, or suddenly we do not approve of you showing the video. We would have 24 hours to take down anything, stop showing it on Channel 8, stop playing it on YouTube. But we want to make sure that those that are interviewed have full control over their story and their interview so that we can be as respectful as possible. We do continue to work with the schools. This is one of the projects that I want to highlight. We have been ongoing efforts trying to get students and the youth involved with PEG TV. We think they can make a lot of great content. I know that Tom and Margot approached PEG TV prior to Tom becoming an actual board member and gave us a proposal on how to get involved with the schools, which included some backing, some funding to help back the project. We have broken through at Lower Lake High School. We have what appears to be a breakthrough at Middletown High School as well. And we're really hoping for Kelseyville, Lakeport, and Upper Lake to become contributors to this. But we have students who are choosing community topics and doing interviews and showcasing either what is happening in our community, whether it's a service, whether it's a historic story to tell, or a concern that they may have. And so one student was very interested in doing, for example, a topic on the Lower Lake Jail. One student who did interviews and has a video already ready to go, it needs to be finalized, did it on substance use disorder or substance use in Lake County. Another student, a group of students, these are not just individuals, these are teams, went out during the Memorial Days parade in Lower Lake and did some video of that and put together a little, here's what happens in Lower Lake during that activity. We're really hoping to get them involved in what's happening in the community. We're really hoping to get their feedback on what's happening in the community, but then we want to highlight their video. So if the video has anything to do with us, you will be seeing us bringing you these videos to showcase what the youth have done so that we can get a perspective from them on what they're seeing and what they're finding out. If it's about the schools, we'll bring that to the school board. What we eventually would like to do is a competition of videos with what am I thinking of here? Scholarships that would go along with it so that they can purchase more video equipment and do that on their own, or they can use that for moving on into art school or whatever they choose to move forward with. I just did something. Again, continue to work with Soper Reese, need to finalize the MOU and then start purchasing the equipment. And then we need to do some updates on our website, but our website is lakepegtv.com as well. So we've been doing a lot of work with you guys in your town halls, again, with Thomas DeWalt. And what I've done, and I think, yeah, you could actually see it on the screen. It's a little small, but I've identified every single meeting that has occurred in the past fiscal year. I could have added the month of May, so this only goes all the way through April. So it's missing 2 months. Some meetings happen more often than others. I think some are unlucky and are on Mondays, and sometimes there's holidays, so you're going to see less meetings for certain ones that are on Mondays than others. But I just wanted to at least show you how many views for each one of these meetings, the total time it takes for PEG to get into the facility, set up all the equipment, do the meeting, break down the equipment, and then do their very small amount of editing that they do. It's very minimal, so that it's very transparent. And in fact, that's part of our contract, is to bring this to you on an annual basis so you can see that. On On average, the views are not enormous. We're not going viral with these things, but the fact is people are watching them. People are using them as archival videos, whether they missed the meeting and they're trying to catch up, or whether they're trying to remember what was said or what was done within the meeting. There is activity with, I think, our highest views being 173 for one of the Cobb Area Council meetings. And overall, number of MAC recordings was 76. Total time of 343 hours. Total recording cost was $13,720. The equipment lease cost was $3,800. So all the way through April, the overall cost was $17,520. I will be working on a negotiation with the county for the fact that as of last night, we did approve our budget. And with the budget, we did approve a new fee structure and a salary schedule. We have not provided increases to our PEG staff in quite some time. And so that will need to renegotiate what the potential cost will be for the max. But all new contracts will definitely have to be with the new fee schedule that we approved. And so right now it's $40 an hour. We've increased it to $50 an hour for videography purposes. With also a slight increase on the equipment lease as well. We used the CPI increase for those. And so future activities, we want to continue to increase our operational budget revenues because those are the most flexible revenues that we can use. We want to increase viewership. We want to activate Lakeport PEG Connection. We have a live feed coming through here. We can see it on the monitor above Sam's booth. We want to activate Lakeport. It's been a very long time coming, but what we've done is we've changed things in a way that everything is not on Thomas or Thomas in the chair of PEG. We have delegated different activities. Tom is kind of taking the lead on the youth project. Christina Price is taking the lead on the Lakeport Connection project, and so on and so forth. That way everyone is working on something. And we do need to also reactivate Clear Lake's PEG's connection because at one point, due to changes in technology, that was disconnected. We want to pursue partnerships. We think that we will be more successful with bigger and stronger partnerships, and we are starting to seek out grants in order to complement the funds that we already have so we can continue to do more. And that is my presentation, and I am open for any questions you may have.
Go ahead, Supervisor Crandall.
No, I just, not really questions per se, but just gratefulness. I talk about this a lot that prior to COVID, we didn't do a lot of this. So when it comes to town halls and even with these meetings. And so I know there's a lot of concern in the county and everywhere about transparency. But I have to say, as a planning commissioner in 2016, when we were mailing tapes to people in full packets rather than posting them online, we're a lot more transparent this decade than we were last. And so seeing all of this work that PEG's been working with us on, and then just my town halls, I used to have to do it on my own. I had to be the supervisor giving updates and be the Zoom guy. So to be able to come into the meeting and concentrate on that is very special to me because now I get to just interact with people as a supervisor. Thomas is great. He helps and he does his best. You know, I know sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes that's just the technical difficulties, and it's really safe. I like the way that they have it set up so that people can't like intrude or anything like that online. And so, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, I do like the work that they've done with the Pathfinders. Those seniors are really happy with doing that. I know at times it's like herding cats, but it's okay. You know, that's the way it is. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to give some high kudos to the work that's being done. I think people forget a lot of times. They want more when it comes to transparency, but they forget where we could be. So I want to highlight that.
I appreciate that. And just a quick response. The Pathfinder activity has been a source of absolute honor for Thomas and Cheyenne. They love it. In fact, we bought a $7,000 camera just to make sure that we had the best fidelity of video to ensure that we were doing something that we were going to be proud of. And so we wanted special equipment for it, but they they are one of the things we're seeking right now is funding to continue and finish the work, because they did a lot of editing for 1 or 2 videos, but it was taking hours of editing, and Pathfinders didn't have the funding for that. And so we did very simple interviews for the rest, and that was understood by everybody. But we would like to offer the full service, and if we can get grant funding, then we're not asking anyone else to put out some money, but we do need permission to be able to continue to touch those videos. But they've been loving it, absolutely.
Thomas and Cheyenne, I'd like to just say they're doing great work too. So,
Supervisor Hahn?
I think this is an amazing program, and I can't give Mr. Thomas enough kudos. So they're doing great work. I'm really glad to have Mr. Tom over here on our board. I think that the costs, the benefits by far outweigh the cost. I think that it's a crucial program, and I'm so glad that it was already established by the time I came to the dais. There's a couple of thoughts I have, which I don't know if I should just talk to Thomas separately, but about the some programs for the high school kids, because as everybody knows, I'm all about our youth. And I'd like to see maybe some contest, and the winner would be shown at Sober Reese or something. And I'm also on the recreation committee, so look at other committees I'm on to do local, within the schools, to do local recreation in those specific areas where the students would go out and show what's available in our areas. And also history, perhaps, and do some type of award contest with our youth, I think would be an amazing project, and get them excited about it. So that's it.
Yeah, I'll just comment, I appreciate it. I think it was last year that we finally got Scotts Valley on, and that's been successful, so appreciate having that continue. If there's nothing else from the board, we'll open it up to the public in the room. Go ahead and come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tom Lasik is, as the at-large member for PEG TV, I want to thank Mr. Sabatier for encouraging me to apply for the position. And it's definitely been a labor of love for, not just for myself, but it's very clear that everybody that's on that board is there because they do love it. I wanted to just sort of add to what Mr. Sabatier had said on a couple items. With regard to the Pathfinders, as he mentioned, we did a couple of videos that were enhanced above and beyond just interviewing. We want to do more of those. It's going to take some additional funding, and I just want to give a shout out to Margot, because she's going to be doing hopefully the grant writing to allow that to accomplish. So in addition to the videos that we've already done, we hope to be able to expand that to other elders and to other parts of the tribal community. The other thing was going to mention is, to your question, there's two parts to the student programs. One is an internship, and I'm happy to say that yesterday we got approval for bringing on our first intern. So it'll be for the summer. It'll be a candidate. We'll have Thomas, our station manager, interview the candidate, make sure it's a good fit, and then if it is, then we'll have our first intern that will help Thomas at the various advisory councils, learning how those skills are set up, and then potentially providing additional content. So it's open to students and students that just recently graduated. With regard to your questions, Madam Supervisor, the other one, which is the promotional video one, is intended to be a 5 to 10 minute promotional video that promotes some part of our county or city or tribal government and what they do. So you would have, say, Park of the Week, okay, where they would maybe interview Lars or someone from Public Works or it's not Public Works, it's the other thing begins with a P. Yeah, thank you. Or if it's something like invasive species, they might talk to someone from the Ag Department or from Water Resources or something like that. We will provide them a list of topics. We'll work with the city and the county to line up interview subjects. They will pretty much take it from there. and work with the interview subject, create the story, create the content. And I gave them a list of 4 pages of suggestions. They can also come up with their own. This year, we've only done 2 because we got a late start. We started in middle of March, actually. So we only had a couple months. I'm sorry.
You could just finish his comment.
Yeah, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so next year, we're going to do things a little differently. And at Lower Lake, we think, according to the instructor, that he can provide potentially up to 32 videos a year. At that point, we're talking about a festival and a contest and things like that. Especially if we can get other schools. I am working with Middletown High School. Unfortunately, it's the end of the school year, so we'll do it over the summer. But hopefully, by the time New Year starts, we can get things rolling. And we are also providing scholarship money or prize money. Margo and I have agreed to donate money for Lower Lake this year and to the Lower Lake, to the students that worked on the projects and also to the program itself. And we will personally help invest in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Anyone online? No one online? Bring it back to the board and go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah, I just want to add something. I think we've been growing tremendously in the last 3 years, and I hope that we continue to do so. And I see PEG in such a broad spectrum of how they can help communities. And I want you guys to approach PEG with proposals on how we could work together. Let me just give you an example of something that I would like to do with PEG. We have some amazing downtowns, and we have some amazing festivals that happen downtown. What's difficult is to have a broad audio system that is able to reach everywhere in that downtown. So typically you'll have like one area where the main DJ or where the main commentary happens, but not everyone can hear it once you're like 100 feet away, right? Or else you'd be blasting the people where the DJ is. And so we've looked into and we found, and it's about $15,000 to $30,000 depending on the size of the main street or the downtown area, where we would put a Disneyland style main street speaker system that zigzags all through the downtown area, where one dedicated device would send out the audio so that it would provide audio to the entire street. So if you're saying clear out the street for the parade, it would be everyone can hear it. It has a dual effect. You can use it for the celebration of community, obviously, when you're having events, but you could also use it during emergencies when you're trying to talk to everybody in the downtown area and telling them what they need to do for their safety. So there's multiple reasons. I'm just giving that as one example because PEG can be involved in the events of what is happening because we can get content from those events. Be creative, approach PEG. We have funding. We would love to work with you guys to enhance your communities in ways that makes people happy and brings people to your communities. So just want to end it with that.
Thank you. And if there's nothing further that was present, we didn't need any action, I don't believe. So we'll move on to...
Other than the finance team signing a check.
Did we need to, you had mentioned that the costs are going up. Do we need to make that adjustment and vote to increase that?
That will need to come as an amendment, and I need to have a conversation with the county because it's not an automatic, it's a negotiated contract that already exists.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
But yes, that would come back to us.
Perfect. Thank you.
So that concludes that item. We're going to move on to our 7.4, which is consideration of the following advisory board appointments: Big Valley Advisory Council, the Law Library, and the Lower Lake Cemetery District. And I believe as we've been doing, we can go through these all and then open to public and then come back with one motion for everything, or do we need a motion for each one?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it would be a motion for each entity or each committee.
Okay, all right. So I've read off the item. We'll go ahead and start with, in order with the Big Valley Council. And I will start that pursuant to the BVAC bylaws, I believe Jeff Brand and Daniel McIntyre are best suited to take on the roles of the two non-alternate vacant positions for BVAC board. While I recommend Jeff Brand and Daniel McIntyre should be selected for these seats, it's also my recommendation that the board give more time for applications to be submitted for BVAC's consideration for the remaining alternate position. That would allow since the BVAC board was a board of 3 people at the time and considered a few applications, providing more time for submission of applications would allow a full BVAC board to consider that final position. So if there's any other comments on that one, if not, we can move to discussion on the law library.
Do we need to finish BVAC
Well,
up?
I think we were going to discuss them all and then open to public comment and
Okay.
then come back with motions. Go ahead.
Do you mind if we discuss the BVAC?
Yeah, we can.
So it says that there's 3 vacancies. Are you telling me there's more vacancies than?
No, there's 2. It's a 5-member board. There's 2 vacant seats plus a vacant alternate.
Okay.
And so there's
Yeah, 2 public members, 1 alternate, making it 3 total vacancies. And so at this moment, even though BVAC has a recommendation, you're wanting to kind of push back a little bit and say give it more time?
For the last alternate one, I was recommending appointing Daniel McIntyre and Jeff Brand today and holding off on the other one.
Okay. I just, in the letter, I see recommended member at large, Daniel and Margot, and then recommended alternate Jeff. And you want to wait for more?
Yes.
For just the alternate
Yes.
or for all of it?
Just the alternate. Is there any further discussion on that one?
I just need a clarification. Thank you.
And move on to the law library. And the reason that is in front of us is because, so for the past probably 3 decades, Mike Ewing has been appointed as a member by one of the judges. And as you may know, the judge that appointed him retired, and then it took almost a year to fill the judge seat. That new judge decided to fill his own position. But there had been an opening and still remains an opening on the law library board for another appointee that would be appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So the proposal recommendation is to appoint Mike Ewing, now have him as a board appointee rather than a judge appointee to fill the vacant position that we appoint. Any questions on that one?
I think a law library meeting without Mike and Cassie together is just not a law library meeting.
Can't disagree with that. So moving, is there any further discussion on that? Then we'll move on to the Lower Lake Cemetery District, and I believe that's in your area.
Yep, and I'm good with Christine Flora.
Okay.
I mean, I'm for her.
Okay. So if there's no other comment from the board, we'll open it to the public for anyone in the room first for comments.
Good afternoon, board. Or good morning, Tom Lasik. Regarding the BVAC, I was a candidate. There were 4 candidates. I respectfully had, actually Margot and I myself were approached by the BVAC board back in the summer, and we were encouraged to apply. We had not really thought about it, and we were honored just to be considered. I had, on the month at the meeting, I had stepped away from the application because I thought the 3 that were selected were quite good candidates. I just think it's strange without a reason for reconsideration being explained why, and those 3 aren't being considered at the same time, and why one is being set back. But as someone that was an applicant, I just want to say we didn't expect to, we were encouraged to apply by that board, and so we both did. And I think the people that are, all three of them are quite capable people and would serve. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Anything online? Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board, and we'll need to take separate actions on all three. We'll start with Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Jeff Brand and Daniel McIntyre to the Big Valley Advisory Committee meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Somebody want to handle the law library action?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Mike Ewing to the Law Library.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Move on to Lower Lake Cemetery. Supervisor Owen, do you want to make that?
I just moved away from that. But yeah, I would like to appoint Christine Flora to the Lower Lake Cemetery District.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And I believe we're going to move on to 7.5. And there's a request to consider this, or to continue that, I'm sorry. I'll move on. Consideration of the 2026 Transportation Work Plan and 2027 to 2031 5-year transportation program. We have a request to move that to, I believe, that was a date to be determined? Okay. And do we have any discussion by the board? Not seeing any, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody that wants to comment on whether or not we continue this? Nothing online? Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board for action or do we need a motion or just consensus?
It can be done via consensus.
We have consensus. I'm not seeing any opposition, so move it to a future date. And at this point, do we want to go into close? Just with the limited,
Read the entire all titles.
okay. In case we get to more, I'll read everything off. So we're going to go into closed session. 8.1 is public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. 1, that's interviews for Health Services Director, and then appointment of Health Services Director. 8.2 is public employee evaluation, title Social Services Director. 8.3 is public employee evaluation, title Special Districts Administrator. 8.4 is conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 and E1 with 6 potential cases. 8.5, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Hoshar versus County of Lake and others. And then item 8.6, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, FERC proceeding number P77 Potter Valley Hydroelectric Project. Are there any public comments on the titles of these items before we move into close? Not seeing any in the room, any online. Then I'm going to adjourn from our open session and we're going to move into closed session. And this will be a partial shutdown, Sam. So give me a time on how long that's going to be. 5 minutes. I'll call our meeting back to order, back to our regular session. Is there any report from closed?
None.
Okay. And at this point, we're going to handle our 6.7, 11:15 item. It's a public hearing continued from May 19th, 2026 and April 28th, 2026. Consideration of a resolution approving resolutions submitted by Lake County Fire Agencies and making findings and requesting the County of Lake to implement fire mitigation fees with the automatic inflation pursuant to Lake County Fire Mitigation Fee Ordinance. There will be a request to continue this item, which is what we're talking about now, to a date and time certain of June 23rd at 9:15. And I'll open it to public comment on the continuation. I'm not seeing any. Is there any online? No, so I'll bring it back to the board for action. Okay, Supervisor?
Thank you. I will not be here on June 23rd. I have tried really, really hard to be helpful. Some are missing out on the ability to make revenue by not doing their math correctly, and some are going to be overcharging what they should be charging because the math is not correctly done. And so I just ask, please, because it's the third time now, and so please have somebody check the math to ensure, because what I'm seeing is there's two different things that change. One is based on building construction CPI. It's a different type of CPI. I forget what the exact code is called. That is a percentage increase that occurs. The problem and the confusion is that there's two percentages that are involved in this fee. One is the increase and one is the 2% admin. Once you have your total, you can't just start from the total and add a new fee increase and another 2% admin, which is what I'm seeing is happening. You have to start with just the total from the percentage increase, and then you can add again the 2%. And so because there's two different calculations happening simultaneously, it seems to be confusing some. And so I just ask, because I don't want to see our developers having to pay more revenue than they should to us, to anyone else. That it be corrected, it be reviewed by somebody who understands the formula.
And
I have provided to Ms. Purdy the exact what it should be, so at least even without doing the math, you should see if it's correct or wrong.
I'm assuming that's something admin can look at when it gets back. And I think, am I correct that this was continued because the fire agencies wanted to finalize and align on
Yes, or else we have to do another public notification and another hearing separately.
that? All right, then it sounds like CAO will check what your request is.
And I move to approve continuation to June 23rd at, what was it again?
9:15, I believe. Yes.
At 9:15 a.m.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. And at this point, we're going to go to lunch. Are we okay with 45 minutes, or should we? How does the board feel? Is that enough, or if you want the hour, that's fine.
I'm fine with anything.
I think staff needs the hour.
Okay. Then we'll come back at 1:15. Thank you. Just trying to move us along, but that's
okay.
fine.
No, we need.
So we'll be
Hours is important.
in recess until 1:15. Good, Sam? I'm going to call our meeting back to order at 1:15, and we are at our
Perfect.
6.8 item, 1 p.m. item. Public hearing, consideration of ordinance to amend Chapter 21, Article 27 of the Lake County Code regarding commercial cannabis regulations. This was continued from March 10th and April 7th, 2026. And today we have both community development. We also have our tax collector here. I'll turn it over to you, Director Turner.
Thank you. What you have before you today is the latest version of Article 27 amendments, also with amendments to Article 8, which is rural residential, and Articles 18 and 19, which is local commercial and community commercial. These reflect all of the bullet-pointed items on your staff report. And I just wanted to, instead of taking you through this for a third and fourth time, thought I would just highlight a couple things that are new. The first one is the removal of suburban reserve zoning district from options for cannabis cultivation. This is because due to the board's discussion at the last meeting, you were interested in extending the setbacks from off-site residences for areas where you start seeing more housing. But the board didn't address suburban reserve at that time. And suburban reserve is actually where you have a primary residential use with accessory agricultural use. So we're merging or getting more into the parcels and the land uses that have primary residential use as opposed to primary agricultural use. And also the suburban reserve minimum parcel sizes could be 1 to 3 acres. So I took it upon myself to assume that the board meant to actually remove suburban reserve from these options given its small minimum parcel size, as well as the fact that we have no approved or pending cannabis cultivation permits located within suburban reserve. So you'll see that change. Additionally, we did have discussions with the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office ongoing, some of which were presented to you at the last meeting where there was board discussion. And so we've come back with something new today, which is just adding verbiage that will require a fee to be paid that will cover the staff time for processing opt-out and reduced canopy taxes at the Treasurer and Tax Collector's Office. That kind of relieves the pressure off of the minimum acreage allowed in reduced canopy years. Here before you today, you have what we had sort of set upon originally at 25% as the least amount you can cultivate in a year, in a reduced canopy year. But we are open to any suggestions that the board may have on that, because we're no longer concerned about costing the treasurer and tax collector staff resources to lose revenue and not capture that revenue regarding the time it takes for them to process the taxation, whatever you call those things, tax bills. Yes. Those are the two new ones. I did receive this morning an email from the public that did note a few different areas that had typographical, either inadvertent omissions or typographical errors, a couple of which are substantive. If you like, I'd be happy to go over those. But if not, I'm happy to launch into the board's discussion. I do anticipate that, a few of these corrections are substantive, such as I inadvertently forgot Article 8 in the title of the ordinance. So I would, instead of requesting a first reading today, I would request that we schedule the first reading at the next available board meeting.
Okay.
And that concludes my presentation. We are very happy to take any questions.
Okay. At this point, we'll start. Does board members have questions for staff?
I'd be happy to hear what those substantive changes are.
Certainly.
Based on those emails, so we don't just duplicate what you.
I'm happy to go over them. And I want to thank Holly Harris for taking the time. It's a long, Article 27 is long, the ordinance is long, and so I do appreciate that she goes over things and is very detail oriented. The first one in page 1, in Cannabis Ordinance Task Force, I neglected to include tribal representation. The second one, and that's not really substantive. The next one is confusing on the up to 5 acres table. I listed greater than 1 acre and up to 5 acres. I'm going to remove the greater than 1 acre because it is confusing and not necessary. That's for the type 5. And at the end of that row, it does maximize at the 20 acre per board direction. The SR was left in, though I meant to take it out. That is substantive. And so those will be removed from the tables in the maximum canopy. Then the sections reduced canopy and opt-out, there's just a few little items of confusion. I don't consider those substantive, but I'll get that clarified and probably clarify the wordsmithing on that section. There was a question of should there be a date by which annual reports will be uploaded to the public. I would prefer not to enter that into the ordinance. I don't think it's necessary because if they become available to the public as soon as the permittee submits it to OpenGov. And so that actually predates even our review. Ordinance, there is one other one that I need to clarify with Holly because I don't understand it, regarding applicable for manufacturing. Biannual, I inadvertently had biannual included in page 16, line 17 regarding an annual or biannual site visit to, I think, manufacturing. And then, let's see, that's not an error. I meant to do that. And then, also, she pointed out that in the Cannabis Task Force meetings, there was an exception to the reduction of annual site monitoring visits, which we were going to go to maybe every 2 years. Then there's an exception that starts that 5-year period over upon transference of ownership of that permit. And so I'm going to add in a sentence for that will make that clear to people. That concludes those changes.
Okay, thank you. Questions from board members of staff? Go ahead, Supervisor Owen.
Kind of skipping around just a little bit, so I apologize for that. Sorry. Thank you, Sam. The retail, the fact that it had been under right to sell, to open a retail store as I understood it, and it was a little ambiguous when I was reading it as far as there was major use permit mentioned and then there was a minor use permit mentioned. So I was a little confused on whether it was minor or major. In my opinion, I believe that it should be major use permit because it is a regulated substance.
Board direction at a previous meeting was to change the use by right
use by
article,
right.
which I think is in local commercial, or no, I think it's in C2, community commercial.
Right.
And and make them both a minor use permit. That was my former direction. But should the board want us to change it to a major, we're happy to have that reflected.
Okay, so question on that. If I were to open up a bar, what would that require?
Were you to be in the correct zoning district, it would not require anything from us, possible tenant improvements or building permits for building changes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
because
we
it's
do
a
have
substance is what I'm getting at.
Exactly. We do have a number of zoning districts where a restaurant and or bar are allowed as use by right.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at something for the first time, and I apologize. I want to see, in my wanting to prepare for this, I want to see the whole ordinance. I don't want to just see what's being amended. What I see on the ordinance has slight variations to the red line that I was looking at. So that's a look, because I saw a whole lot of SRs in the rest of it that probably should be removed and be put into the ordinance. So I think it's good to look at the entirety
double check that.
of what that is, because Suburban Reserve continues to be not everywhere, but scattered in certain areas. So I'm going to go down my list of things. And I appreciate you bringing up the C1, C2. I think it was ridiculous to do a by right. I think we learned that was kind of a weirdness and a strange thing. We had a couple appeals, or at least one appeal that came here. And major use was intense. And everybody was fighting to find that C2 so they could just get the by right and skip out on the C1. I do have a question about it, though, because a minor use does have a restriction on the size of the building. I don't believe that any of our dispensaries currently are bigger than what that restriction is of a minor use. It's something like 5,000, 8,000 square feet. I don't remember off the top of my head specifically, but just kind of curious if there's any nonconformity that occurs from moving it into the minor use.
No, not for currently existing retails.
That was a good question that I needed to ask, because I just want to make sure that we're aware of what we're doing. Going from a major, you would be able to do more size, and we know that people have actually, I don't know that we have any major use dispensaries. I think they all were using the C2. We have one. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't put anybody in a weird situation without us actually knowing about it. But I have an issue with one thing and one thing only. I go through the manufacturing, I go through the processing, and it's like this laundry list of things which may or may not agree with the laundry list, and then it's just retail. Like, I feel like there needs to be some specificity as to what is retail, what are the restrictions, what are the requirements. Like, I know that there's state law that you have to be such and such, I think it's 600 feet, I could be wrong, it could be 1,000 feet from a school. But I also know that same law exists for manufacturing or processing, but we have it in our code here, because that way, if the state changes, at least we still have it in our code. But yet retail is very bare bones. There is nothing expected. There's no specificity of security. There's no specific, like, yes, there may be some state laws that they have to follow. I'm pretty certain that there's some state laws, but I also feel like it is just a very simplified process where we're not saying locally, this is what we expect of our dispensaries. I don't need this to happen today, but I know that I would feel much more comfortable as we progress to hash out what does a dispensary need to meet and what are the requirements, because a blank slate is basically saying you're by right, you just have to pay a little bit more money because it's a minor use. Like, I feel like it's not enough. If we're going to do a minor use, there should be some criteria to meet, and not just a blank that just you could do retail. On the other side, I also feel like there's an opportunity to open up for a delivery dispensary in a C3. We had an appeal here. It was next to Epidendio. It wasn't appropriate. It was a C3. It would have been perfect for a delivery. The reason why we didn't open it up as a dispensary is because you can't invite people to go into a retail shop next to a construction yard and then eventually complain about the construction yard and start shutting that down in order to be able to comply with what customers want. But a C3 is not available and a delivery only is not available. And I've seen those happen. They're happening in the city of Clear Lake, or were happening. I think they may have swapped out. And it's just a warehouse that eventually cars drive out and to go deliver their goods. So I think it would be an opportunity to look at that, just to give that possibility in C3s. I'm glad you changed the type 5 square footage, because the red line said greater than 2 acres. The ordinance says greater than 1 acre, and then it says 200,000 square feet, which is not 1 acre. So that made no sense. So I'm glad we changed that. I just want to bring up, I don't think we're going to change anything. I love the background checks for the applicant and the owner, property owner. I still have issues as to why we're doing it for the full-time employees. That's just me. I think that's up to the businesses. If they want to protect themselves, they should be checking their employees. That should not be our job to check their employees. And the 25% mandate, I really have a problem of overreach of government saying you must, like, are we going to go to Safeway when they run out of milk and tell them that they don't have enough milk to feed the people in the community? Like, that is my analogy of what is wrong with us mandating that somebody engage in a commercial activity. We need to pay a fee if I want to opt out or if I want to reduce, to pay you to come and check on me to make sure that I do it correctly. That way we're not whining about it takes so much time to deal with these folks and they're telling us it's this when it's that. Give us the money so we can go out there and do inspections. We're going to do an inspection. We know what's going on. Thank you for paying the fee in order to do that, but not forcing people to engage. I really have a philosophical issue with forcing people to engage in a commercial activity. And if they opt out twice, they lose that, because that's part of the rules. If you don't do anything for twice, but the way things are with the roller coaster ride that our businesses are feeling, forcing somebody to do something, it doesn't sit well for me. I feel like this is under the cultivation. Excuse me. I believe it's AU for cultivation. Am I correct?
That's manufacturing.
Or AT.
Cultivation is AT.
Or AT. It talks about prohibited activities, and I think this is where we get ourselves in a wee bit of trouble, where it says odors are prohibited. Now, it does have specificity to it. It is identified subjecting many persons, not just one individual. but I feel like it needs to have, for mixed light and indoor, you are prohibited from subjecting people to odor. Like outdoor, like that is crazy to say you're prohibited to have odor in outdoor. Like at this point, we are absolutely contradicting ourselves. So I really feel like that section should be specific to mixed light and indoor. We have setbacks and we have zoning to deal with the odor. Everything else, like, I don't know. I feel like we're setting ourselves up for complaints that really we said you can grow pot outside. It smells like skunk sometimes. Like we already said yes. So there's nothing we can do. I do want to bring back real quick the venting of the greenhouses. Why can't they vent it through a filter? I mean, if we're saying you have to have filtration, why can't they open up for some fresh air and have it filtered so that it doesn't smell when they open it up? I get it, it's to reduce the temperature because it gets really hot in a greenhouse when it's all enclosed. But if you have the right filtration systems, can it go in and out?
That recommendation came from the board when we described how they would open like whole window panes, not a single one where you could place a filter, but rather structurally it was a wide opening of the entire structure. So I don't know if it's possible to put filters at every single window.
I just wanted to put it out there. Like if you have a really good filtration system where it doesn't smell, why can't you have air coming in through the filter and air coming out the filter? It just seems like it would be. The FPZ section, I don't like that you scratched out the words outdoor cultivation shall not be allowed, because then you only say can't be grown within 1,000 feet of the zone, which like my non-professional legal mind says, so then I can grow outdoors inside the zone. I just can't grow within 1,000 feet of the zone because you scratched out the first part that says no outdoor cultivation in the FPZ.
Is that in the red line version of 27?
Yes.
So that would have been inadvertent. I will correct that. Thank you.
Is that not in the final?
I do not recall putting that in the wording of the ordinance, but I will double check that because that should not have been removed.
Yes, and I apologize, but that makes it really confusing again when I'm trying to, like, I would have expected both documents to match, which is concerning if it doesn't match.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to look at the entire rules, not just the amendments, because one amendment doesn't describe how it fits with the rest of the rules that already exist. So I'm not going to look for it, but...
It is noted and will be corrected. Thank you. It may just be in that red line version because that would not have gone in. I would not have written the word saying remove this part, so we'll make sure that that's corrected.
And did you remove the dates for the FPZ conversion? Because it didn't look like in the red line it was scratched out.
I didn't mean to touch anything regarding FPZ except to add
the
it.
The dates were 2 years from 2023. So
Oh, sure. I didn't touch Article 30 or that's Ordinance 3103 and 3101, and that was not amended as far as the code goes. The only part was to add that FPZ into the 1,000-foot buffer, even though it's already mentioned below in the FPZ section.
Yeah. But as far as the FPZ section, it talks about the conversion.
I did not touch that part.
So it doesn't make sense. Either it needs to change so that if there's ever a new FPZ created, it talks about what the conversion timeline would look like. I know there's been some discussions about expanding it in the Middletown area or whatever. If that ever happens, we have a conversion process, but we have dates from 2023 that make no sense if that was the case.
We can do that in Article 73.
And if we're not changing it, why not just get rid of it since it's a moot point as far as the dates and conversion, or else we're telling people you can do conversion still.
Keep in mind that the items that are on the bullet point list before the board today it was a sparse list, separating, sort of parsing out what was going to be done, we thought, in a much quicker process before the board versus what would be covered in Article 73. And so this, I did not set forward with a goal of overhauling all of Article 27. I was staying specific to those bullet points.
Okay. And I guess I'm struggling with that concept when I'm looking at the entirety of it, and I apologize.
But we'll note, thank you, in Article 73, we can address FPZ modifications in the future and establish sort of a pattern of a 2-year transition period should the board want to modify FPZ boundaries.
So then there's two more things. The last one is I can't find the water board expiration date.
That should not have changed. So
I couldn't find it in there.
in the ordinance,
In the red line one that I looked at, I could not find it anywhere.
it was not removed. It wasn't touched. So I'd be happy. I don't offhand. I bet Mary can get it in a second, but I can't pull it up. It's still there, but that one was not on the bullet point list. It was not changed. But we can find the citation for you in Article 27 if you like.
And like I said, I did a search and everything. I could not find a specific date. I saw all the stuff about you need to
It may
have a
not be
water
in
board
27.
permit.
It might be a resolution. Right. Yeah, I think it was a supporting document.
Okay. And this is where it gets confusing of redlining the ordinance. Well, it's not the ordinance. It's the ordinance prior to the amendments. Like, it would be nice to be looking at a document that is the final current version.
Yeah, that's what I meant to give you in Article 27. But any supporting resolutions would not have been codified. Those are,
It was an ordinance. It was
Okay.
it was specific in the because one day it disappeared from the ordinance and we put it back in the ordinance.
then I will double check that ordinance to make sure if it was supposed to be codified, figure out why it's not actually included in Article 27, because we've gone through that process already.
And then just my last one, I think I mentioned it last time, under manufacturing, and again, maybe I'm getting into the weeds past the bullet points, but it's really weird to have landscaping standards that now go against what the state of California is trying to do, where we're basically saying you have a landscaping strip 5 feet wide around the base of the building. That seems to, so just something I caught.
Let's catch that in 73.
Yes.
Yes.
And what is the timeline for 73? Because some of this is awkward.
I'll have to
sensitive.
address that as I update my goals, because right now we're finishing Lake County 2050 edits. This Article 27 has taken a little longer than I anticipated due to the add-on of other things to add into it. So Article 73 will either go concurrently with your short-term rental and low-impact camping ordinances, or will need to come later on this fall. So I don't have an exact date anymore, but I would be happy to get to one at a future meeting.
And I mean, if there's any items that one of my colleagues is interested in, I don't think a lot of what I brought up is a CEQA issue of saying get rid of the conversion portion of FPZ. That to me would not be a CEQA issue. Obviously, we would have to check to see if it is, because that's just getting rid of a possibility of somebody doing something that's not changing and impacting the environment. That's just what is available to them, and it's out of date. It's not even available currently. So I think deleting that would not be an issue. And I think there's some other stuff that I've provided that would also not be an issue. So, but that is my list of notes.
I would strongly prefer not having to add further things to add into the ordinance and the red line version and go through county council review. However, I serve at the pleasure of the board. You guys just let me know what you want, and we'll make it happen.
All right, Supervisor On.
Thank you. I hadn't quite finished. I had mentioned the first item on my list, I believe, which was the retail. The next item on my list was the water usage. Some of the water usages that are well over what is stated. So I would think that it might trigger a review if they're using more than, say, 20% of the what is stated that they're going to be using. So the additional on the water is, as we know, we've had issues with grows either not having enough water or sucking their neighbors dry. So within their sphere of influence, I think that if there is a reaction, we need to have some kind of recourse where we can pull their license if the water is not available, where it's actually negatively impacting people within. And that's just to protect the people around them.
We do plan to beef up the hydrology section in Article 73. If you like, we'll make note of that specifically.
Please. That would
Certainly.
be amazing. Okay, to be honest, the 20-acre maximum, I don't have a problem with going over if it's in a rural area where there's not complaints and they're not bothering people. I would rather have it more consolidated, my own personal preference. It's up to the board on what they want on that. Let me see. I know that still the odor nuisance, I know we don't have a handle on that yet. And I don't know, did we decide? I know that we spoke about creating some type of monitoring for that to see what the effects actually are.
That was an option presented to the board that was not
Given direction.
didn't come out the other end. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It was probably me that brought it up. As far as going to every other year on the inspections, I would say it's actually kind of a question. With your code enforcement, say for instance, you go into a place to do your inspection and all the tags are not on the plans, which we know that's happened. Is it actually written up, those things, and then they have to correct them? So I would say on going to the every other year, I'm kind of worried about it, to be honest. But primarily, I would say if there's been any violations that they're not completely up on, at that point, no, you cannot.
Correct.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members at this time before we open to the public? Not seeing any. Let's go ahead and open it to public comment, and we'll start in the room. Yes.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Margot Kambara. Your board first heard this agenda item on March 10th this year. Attorneys for Tom Lasik and Margot Kambara submitted public comment on their behalf in a letter addressed to your board dated March 6. In this letter on the proposed cannabis ordinance amendments, attorneys for Tom Lasik and Margot Kambara explained that the amendments are not exempt from secret review as the county claims. Environmental review of the amendments is required. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela Amaral. My apologies for sounding like a broken record, but I would not be doing my job as an elected official for our POA. I understand the county cannot enforce CC&Rs, but perhaps there can be a stipulation that applicants that live in an area governed by a legal binding agreement that specifically excludes commercial activity shall provide a written approval. Aside from that, I'd like to say I agree with Supervisor Owen considering the thresholds for deviations from the project management plan when it comes to water. For an example, we have seen water usage exceed 300% of what they stated in their project management plan. So a 20% deviation would allow for small leaks. Anything over 20% should trigger CDD to do a site visit or deeper evaluation. Also, is the data being compiled for cumulative impacts? Is there a threshold limit for projects in a certain radius? The Planning Commission was being shown all the projects in a 1 to 3 mile radius during the slide presentations. This recently stopped. Groundwater issues remain undefined. For example, project was just approved on Highway 53 with many projects within a 3 mile radius. One of the neighboring projects had to re-drill their well a year or two ago. I'd like to also recommend that you consider a fine schedule for violations for things such as a failure to submit annual reports. Also, that complaints should be addressed by code enforcement, not by CDD telling the project manager to address the complaints without further investigation. So right now, a complaint gets filed with CDD, it goes to the project manager, and there's no answer. So I think there needs to be further investigation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room?
Hi, Holly Harris, Clear Lake Oaks. I just had a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank you for a number of this and also for removing cultivation from suburban reserve, which I think is a great move. But in a couple of things. First of all, I do support a minimum 25% bottom level for reduction. And basically that's because, they do have the option of opting out. And it's quite a bit of work, a lot of time and effort to go through also for tax collector Sullivan to, put through all of this. So I do think that there should be a minimum, otherwise it could be used as a loophole for not opting out. Then in terms of water usage, well reports are required for looking at water usage. And in the 2 years that we've put in PRAs to get all the annual reports and the inspection reports, I have never once seen a well report. I've seen just a table that basically oftentimes duplicates what's in the property management plan. In one report, we saw someone was using a huge amount of water. And when we asked about it, they said, oh, they made a mistake and added a 0 onto the end of these things because their well meters were not working. So I really would like to see these well reports uploaded for the public to take a look. And I do feel that 20 acres should be a max, if not less, just because I don't know how far away you can get from people. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Did we have anyone else in the room?
Try not to get too passionate this time. Okay, I want to speak on 3 things. Name's Charles Morse. Odor and nuisance. When I was a kid, I worked in agriculture for years. I owned my own farm in Germany. The farm I worked on was a mushroom farm. It was shut down because of odor. So to act like odor doesn't exist or it's just a bunch of, hogwash is crazy. And we were growing mushrooms inside barns, in Napa on Cuttingsworth Road. So to give you a little history on odor and what's going on with that. But the company was Pacific Mushroom Company. The other thing is ID for workers. It sounds good to think that marijuana is the old hippy-dippy thing where my sister, she spent 25 years of her life, maybe more, on a farm up in Weaverville. And she said it was a really nice community. It was beautiful. You kind of worked off the grid. So half the year she worked in emergency services, cooking food in hurricanes and earthquakes and whatever else. And the other half, she worked in the marijuana industry. But the industry changed a lot, even under legal. She was afraid to go there. I mean, I would go visit her on a farm up in Weaverville, and they thought I was a cop because of my haircut. And they would check me out, my military ID card, and they would check my where my residence was. And I'm like, go ahead, brother. You want to get funky? Let's get funky. Or you know where I live. I'm here to see my sister, and whatever you're doing, I don't care about. It's important, okay? You can't act like that marijuana is, this money's coming from nowhere. It's coming from shady places. And if you ask me, the whole Napa Valley was built on that. It was built on laundering money for cocaine. So I understand the realities of it, and hopefully people understand that too. And the other thing about water, I would like to say that water access is the biggest thing. And I'm not just talking about marijuana. I'm talking about everything. I can't access some of the properties that I think are abusing water, even though the law says they shouldn't be allowed to use that water. I know of a huge cattle farm. The first thing he does is he takes a pump and he pumps every drop of water out of his creek he can. He soaks every bit of his property he can to feed his cows. And then when it's cheap, when he's run out of water in the creek, then he goes and starts pumping out water from his well, because the well, it's cheaper to pump from the creek than pump from the well. He's getting away with this, even though it's against the law, but because you cannot go on his property. You can't go on any of those properties down towards, say, Maha and all that. They got bridges, they got gates, and only the fire department can show up. It's no wonder that area burned so well during the fires. And then my last thing would say is The tribe has a constitution that protects the environment, and the Coast Guard station was a good decision. And hopefully that land can be used for, something better than what we're talking about here.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. Tom Lasik. I didn't expect to speak so many times in one day. A few things. One, I do support the idea of a minimum of 25% for the reasons that have been explained by previous public commenters. I do also support better and more scrutiny and management of the water. In fact, that's why Mark and I first got involved with the cannabis permit, was because of the concern with water, and it was well-founded. Our well dropped significantly when they started pumping. At first they said it was the drought, but even after they went bankrupt and we were still in a drought, the water recovered. The only thing that was different was that they had gone bankrupt. I do take exception to, I do agree with Mr. Sabatier's comments about the FPZ and the language in there, but I do take some exception with whether it was deliberate or not, or it was an accident. It actually was deliberate. In November, the Cannabis Ordinance Task Force had voted to expand farmland protections to more than just what was defined as an FPZ. And then the following meeting, they decided to gut all those protections. And that has since carried over to today, a year and a half later. On the odors, odors are regulated. It's frustrating for someone who lives in a rural area. And for people to say, we just have to get used to it. It is regulated by the state. And as some of you may know, the courts have recently determined that anyone has cause to file a litigation within a mile of a grow. And so that is a recognition by the state that this is something that can't just be ignored. And then finally, I would just like to express my disappointment. I would say it was in the fall of last year, this board asked for some sort of scale on setbacks versus size. In the early spring, CDD, responding to that request, came up with something that originally came from a cannabis project, the Rancho Lake project, which you heard recently, and then you gave direction to get more scientific evidence for that. So then you went to Lake County Air Quality Management Board, which reaffirmed the same thing. If your grow is 5 times the baseline, then the addition should be square root of 5 of the baseline. If it's 3 times, square root of 3. It's not complicated. But then when you realize what the science showed, you didn't like the answer and you went to something else. I think Supervisor Crandall was right. It was a term I never heard before. It's called crawfishing. And you guys went back on what your original direction was, not because of the science, but because you didn't like the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. Is there any online, Carolyn?
Chair, may I take a moment to clarify?
Yes.
Regarding whether or not it was deliberate to remove the no outdoor cultivation in FPZ does not really make any sense, because the whole fact that there is no outdoor cultivation in FPZ is the entire point of FPZ. So the Cannabis Ordinance Task Force did go through a process of very large expansion of where FPZ would apply from outside of the currently set boundaries to pretty much all over the county. That was then reversed at a subsequent meeting. There is actually no vendetta or goal to erase FPZ guidelines. It was a policy decision made by this board, and our department rolls it out as we are supposed to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Online, yeah.
The first person is Nara Dalbaca.
Nara, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes.
All right. Good afternoon. Nara Dalbaca, District 1, former member of the task force and past president of LCCA. I want to address just a a couple things, and I'm going to try to be fairly quick today. The opt-out and reduced canopy guidelines it's long, but in that section, the 25% requirement is I think really, really difficult. It is, as Supervisor Sabatier said, a very it's a highly volatile market right now still, and there may be some stabilization with the recent rescheduling where that's happening as we speak, and so the market may begin to improve, and there may be folks who need a little bit of runway to not be producing. And I think it would be an incredible waste of staff time and county resources to not allow people to go more than 2 years when that property is already permitted and that permit holds. I think that, you continue to send a letter every year, and I think be willing to be inspected to ensure that growing is in fact not happening. But I think having that requirement of somebody whose business is struggling is just a way to put that final nail in the coffin. And then again, you're going to end up with another application down the line. And so the point of this is to try to streamline and make things a little bit easier. And this is a really simple way you can do this for the county and for the businesses. And I also do want to ensure that some of the original changes that were approved by the Board of Supervisors, including the zoning table that was approved a couple years ago, that some of the spirit of that is still intact. And that would be for farms to be able to have something like a micro business where they may be able to have a type 9 delivery because they wouldn't be able to have members of the public there, but so that consumers in Lake County can purchase directly from the farms. We're able to do that from our amazing wineries, and most of us love doing that. It would be great to be able to order delivery from your favorite farm, or for your favorite farm to be able to make a manufactured product like a topical or something that was, fairly manufacturing intensive. And so that would put money into the farmers' hands, and it helps small farmers the most. So that's it. Glad we're finally here and moving this forward. And happy Election Day, all of you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Autumn's iPhone.
Autumn, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes. Can you hear us?
Good afternoon, supervisors and chair. My name is Autumn Carsey. I just want to comment on 3 issues in the proposed ordinance amendments. First, I'm concerned with the proposal that would result in permit expiration after 2 consecutive years of non-cultivation, and the requirement that reduced canopy requests be limited to no less than 25% of an approved canopy. A cultivation permit is a land use entitlement, often that took years of permitting and environmental review, study, engineering, what have you, and substantial investment. Whether a permit holder chooses to cultivate 100%, 25%, or none of their approved canopy for a period of time should be a business decision. The county should regulate compliance, environmental protection, security, and land use compatibility. It should not be dictating a minimum amount of approved canopy that must be cultivating or threatening permit expiration because a property owner chooses not to cultivate it for a period of time. Second, I asked the board to protect existing license holders. Many operators have spent years obtaining permits, completing environmental review, infrastructure, and complying with every requirement imposed by the county. Those investments were made on reliance of the rules that existed when those permits were approved. If the county believes new standards are appropriate moving forward, those standards should generally apply to future projects, not retroactively to existing permit holders who have already received approvals and made substantial investments. At a minimum, existing permit holders should be allowed to continue under legal non-conforming nuisance where new ordinance provisions would otherwise create conflicts. Finally, I asked the board to allow Type 7 manufacturing in M1 industrial zones. Type 7 is already allowed in M2. Allowing it in M1 would support investment, job creation, business diversification while keeping those activities within industrially zoned areas. Thank you. And I did have a comment on the greenhouses. Just to Bruno's earlier concern, I've developed millions of square feet of greenhouses all over the world, and a greenhouse works by continuously exchanging massive amounts of volume of air. So there really aren't filtration systems that can guarantee that no smell comes out of them due to the volume of air exchange. So happy to chat about that offline if you want to.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else online? A Zoom user, if you could state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Lewa, Pillsbury Family Farms, and I would like to speak on a few of the proposed cannabis ordinances. The first, the reduced canopy provision. The proposed ordinance allows a permittee to reduce cultivation to no less than 25% of their approved canopy. For a farm like mine that's approved, that would mean at least maintaining at least 1 acre of cultivation, which would mean that I would have to upscale in order to remain compliant. And I would like to note that the state does have a limit on number of plants on what they say is allowed for reduced canopy. So really the county should align with the state. But the practical effort is that the operators, such as myself, are being forced to cultivate more than what the market supports simply to maintain their permit status. And the county bears none of the financial risk associated. Second, the proposed background check review process. The proposed ordinance removes county development as the reviewing agency. If the responsibility is being transferred, who is the responsible department? More importantly, what due process protections exist for applicants? If a person is disqualified, who identifies the disqualifying factor? Who provides the notice? Who hears the appeals? Who is accountable when the departments disagree amongst each other? And third, the proposal of the application to pause if community development becomes aware of an active warrant, which raises serious concern of how this process is going to function. Community development personnel are civilian employees only. Community development personnel do not have access to the California Law Enforcement Telecommunications System known as CLETS. They do not have access to the National Crime Information Center known as NCIC, or the National Law Enforcement Telecommunications System, commonly known as NLETS. Access to those systems are restricted to the authorized law enforcement and criminal justice personnel only. So what does exactly become aware mean? Typically, community development departments across California do not have access to CLETS, NCIC, NLETS, or any other criminal justice information systems. It's again, law enforcement. So it raises the question, when did community development become an extension of the sheriff's department? And fourth, the annual performance review. The county calls it a performance review, but really the contents consist entirely of a compliance documentation. Their compliance records, they do not measure performance. Performance reviews are commonly used by investors, lenders, shareholders, and business partners, and they do not evaluate operational success, productivity, efficiency of the environmental stewardship, and the financial outcomes. If it's truly a compliance review, then call it what it is, an annual compliance report. If it is a performance review, then explain what performance is being measured. The county wants to reduce the Planning Commission's role in reviewing the annual reports, but making those reports public, increasing more reporting requirements, increasing compliance monitoring, expanding the discretionary enforcement authority, and creating new pathways for applicants to be paused and more delays to be caused. But yet nowhere in these amendments do we see a corresponding expansion of applicants' appeal rights, notice requirements, and due process protections and accountability mechanisms for the departments that are making these decisions. When the government expands its authority over permit holders, it should also expand the protections available to those permit holders. Instead, what is being proposed is a more increase of power of government while leaving applicants and permittees with limited ability to challenge the decisions, to obtain explanations, and seek meaningful review. The imbalance should concern every permit holder operating in Lake County. Muleha.
Thank you. Did we have any further online? No? Okay, I'm going to go.
There you go, Ben.
I'm going to close public comment, bring it back to the board. Did you have a question? Oh, she's had her pen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah, I wanted to respond because I'm okay with wordsmithing because you're not just randomly aware. It would be more through the background check that our law enforcement, that our sheriff department is doing a background check on the property owner or on the applicant, that they would become aware and share with you that there is a warrant related to the type of activity that they're trying to do. If there's a way to better wordsmith that so it doesn't appear that you just heard a rumor that there is a warrant and therefore you're pausing, if we can make it maybe a little bit more specific, because obviously you becoming aware is through an official source, not just waking up one day becoming more aware that there may be a warrant out there.
The reason that wording was general was because of the concern voiced by the sheriff regarding avoiding all possible perception of them doing warrant checks, because they do not do warrant checks on just, there are very strict guidelines that I'm sure Chief could expound on regarding when checks for active warrants are legal. And so we wanted to avoid the perception that they may be doing that warrant check just for an application, which I think might not be included in that. So the background check is clearly listed out as far as the process goes in the current ordinance. It would not change. We would only find out if the sheriff's department happened to tell us, or if somebody became aware of it and would happen to tell us. Right. We could add from an official source. Yeah, but we want to avoid that. We can't, we don't want the state to look at our ordinance and say, uh-oh, what is law enforcement doing? You know, are they doing these warrant checks just on property owners? Because we don't think that that would become legal. So that's why I worded it the way that I did.
Is there, I'm going to be stupid here, but I'm looking at Mr. Guintavano. Is there a law that if somebody is an applicant to become a teacher, but they have a warrant for some kind of child endangerment or child something that's criminal, that would go on pause? Or is it perfectly fine for our education system to follow through and it's just a warrant, nobody's supposed to talk to us? Like, there's got to be a process somewhere that we can, I hear this again and again and again, and we are not always here 10 years from now. Our department head and their staff will not always be here 10 years from now. Is there a different wording that can help better identify where this information would be coming from, rather than I happen to look at Facebook? I mean, it just says I became aware, right? Like, it's not very specific. Just wondering.
Go ahead, County Counsel. Did you want to respond?
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the short answer would be that would be a wordsmithing point or item. So yes, it's possible, and staff can certainly look into how to arrange that or draft that in a way addressed in the ordinance to resolve those concerns. But yes, there may be a way to get that at this point before your board. Looks like this ordinance would be, well, the item itself would be continued to a later date and time to address other issues as well, and this may be one of them.
Sure.
that
Yeah, we
staff
have
can
to do
look
another
into.
first reading. so.
Right.
And my last comment is on May 12th, 2020, we passed an ordinance amendment that added October 31st, 2020. And the fact that it's not showing up in the red line, Article 27 that was attached, is of concern. But that needs to be in there, and I don't know how to make sure it's in there if it's not showing up on the current red line that is being brought to us.
I'm going to review that ordinance to see where it would have been codified in the code to make sure that it was done. I'll follow up on that one, but it's going to take a little, I don't want to just like give you a flippant answer.
Okay, so we'll go to Supervisor Crandall.
I think you already fixed one of them. I just have a little list. You already fixed the one, I think, with the whereas and the tribal reference. Retail and C2, I know last time I kind of went silent because you did improve it. We improved it from by right to minor. I still am very favorable with major. Background checks, is it now all employees or just still limited to full-time as well?
Be limited to full-time employees.
Okay, cool. Residential setbacks, I'm not really clear on the inverse square decision. Is there exact language?
That was proposed at a previous board meeting, and the board chose to go with using setbacks.
Okay. In the annual performance reports, is Is it the planning commission? Does it have the formal role, or is it now CDD staff?
It is changing in this ordinance to be under CDD. The planning commission will no longer be required to review over 100 annual performance reports.
All right. All right. Thanks.
Go to Supervisor Pyska.
My only concern, I think we're getting close. I think that's great because we've been working on this for a long time. And I know we'll move on to Article 73, which a lot of the things talked about today will be handled in that revision. But we started this conversation about reducing for years that the permittee wanted to make that choice, and the 25% is really high, and we really struggled with what that would be, and it sounds like there's a better option to make staff time whole by charging a fee and calculating that. So I'm fine with that. I think we need to have flexibility for the business owners and the farmers to do what they need to do, and I think that addresses my concern. I think there's also another benefit where there can be better crop rotation if the farmer isn't limited to a certain percentage. So I'm fine with that.
Just so I'm clear, 25% is high. You're fine with what?
Having a fee structure for the tax
And then
collector.
removing any limit on reduced canopy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as we're achieving that, we don't have all these extra hours where we're not being compensated, and the tax collector can figure this out. I think it solves it.
Okay, I think Supervisor Hahn is up, and then back to Craig.
I'm just, the only concern I have with that, in all honesty, which is I believe is the same concern that Mr. Sullivan had at previous meetings, was, does growing one plant constitute? So that's the only issue I have, is there has to be some kind of guidelines. I do understand both sides of the coin, and if we have somebody that's been injured, we've had people in here for other reasons that are injured. So I don't know if we could somehow look at the non-grow to, under certain circumstances, they could extend their non-grow without losing their license, as was mentioned by somebody on the line. But I don't want to see one or two plants constitute a grow. So I'm not quite sure what the balance would be there. I do have a couple other things really quick. On the background checks, when we do the background checks, do the warrants pop up at that time as well? When you're doing a background check, because I know law enforcement does the background check, you're not wanting to bring them in, but at the same time, we have to have a thumbs up from our law enforcement on the background checks. Do the warrants pop up at that time?
You know, when Sheriff Martin first was presenting regarding the background check, he did say that if at any point in the future something happened for a criminal record, that they would be notified. But then that seemed to be change in later reports from law enforcement. So I actually don't know. I thought that maybe there's like now a 2-year. I don't know.
So what I'm trying to get at is a resolution that would, make it easier. So could we speak with our sheriff?
I will definitely have that
and ask him
conversation.
if that comes up at that time, and if there needs to be a pause put on it until that's resolved.
So just so I understand, you're asking if after the background check comes back and it's fine, but then the permit gets approved, right?
Because we're talking about warrants, right?
We're talking about warrants during the application process, not after a permit has been issued.
Okay, but do they pop up when you do the background checks?
That's what I will find out for you.
Okay, that would be something that we need to know, so because you didn't want to mention law enforcement, you didn't want to put the pressure on them, and I was wondering, well, don't they, pop up during that?
Normally, when you're doing a background investigation, that's when you're going to find out.
If there's a warrant.
You're going to see the criminal history. You're going to find out if they're wanted for anything at that point, based on your check of the system.
Right, which would include warrants, so it's not
Yes.
actually a conviction, but the warrants pop up as
Yes,
well.
they would know about that during a background.
Okay, so I don't see the issue. Obviously, it's going to have to be put on hold until those are cleared up. Those issues are cleared up, I think, if I understand it correctly. Let me see if there was another question.
The only reason that this has been really brought up, I brought it up, and maybe others are very much in favor of it, but I watched in this room and with an individual that had warrants for environmental crimes and illegal grows. He was the property owner. We didn't ask for the property owner information, so no background check was done on that, and it just made me feel like we are not looking
Not doing our job.
very well. No, because it wasn't in the code, but we're not looking very appropriate to the public to say we're doing our best to ensure that we're giving these licenses to the right folks when that individual was in this room, and he's not the applicant. The applicant received the permit, and I had a conversation with the sheriff's office, and they were a little dumbfounded, but there's no line item that we could have used to pause or stop at that moment in time.
Well, then, at that point, in my opinion, we're not doing our job. If we're not keeping the good players to a standard and punishing those that are not good players, those that are.
That's why I've been adamant that we add this.
Perfect, thank
to the
you.
process.
I appreciate it.
Was that it?
I believe that was it.
Okay, we'll go to Supervisor Crandall again.
I just forgot to mention that I agree to an extent with the water situation. I don't want to see anybody like have an increase of like 300% of water after they've already said they're only using, a specific amount. But I mean, I'm willing to go like to 20 to 40% or something like that.
I forgot one more thing. I wanted to add that I do support EJ. EJ and I both mentioned the same thing, so there's two of us that are thinking major use permit. I don't know how the other three feel, but for the retail.
Okay, was that it, Supervisor Crandall? And go to Supervisor Sabatier.
I mean, I'll touch on that right now. I think if you have experienced retail, it is probably, I wish all of our alcohol was sold in a dispensary. I wish all of our tobacco was sold in like the checking of the ID before you walk in. Like, you are only allowing adults in, well, granted, they could have fake ID, but I'm sure they catch those too from time to time. But like, you cannot have children walking down the cannabis aisle like you would in a grocery store. And so to me, the laws and regulations of retail is the least of my worries. And in speaking with law enforcement, the bars are their worries much more than the dispensaries are their worries because of behaviors that come out of those situations. Yet we have pharmacies and we have bars that have a very low threshold on how to get permits. I don't think we should be asking for the world for somebody to put together a retail dispensary when we have not experienced what I would say is major issues. There have been certain issues, but no major issues that I am aware of, at least in the experiences that I've had with the dispensaries down south in the city of Clear Lake. So I'm not looking to add an overburdened process for something that doesn't prove to us that it requires an overburdened process. I just want to make sure, I just want to add and clarify, there was talk about adding a fee for the tax collector. I think that fee needs to also be for CDD and inspections and so forth. All of the above need to remain whole. I also want to make sure we're all aware, you put one plant in the ground, you got to get a state license and pay a whole lot of money, pay a whole lot of taxes on that, which is our taxes are the least of their worries when it comes to the overall cost to getting any overall permits. So this embellishment or this hyperbole of what about the one who wants the one plant, I think is a very red herring argument that leads us to bad decision making. I really think that is not what we're going to see. If you're asking somebody, we just approved 19.8 acres. Is that what we did? And it was just under 20, 25% of 20, right? So you're going to do 5 acres. You're forced to do 5 acres. 25% of 10,000 square feet, now that's a little bit more possible. I'm not saying that's what I want, but like we really have to think about what we're trying to force people to do and what that cost would be, in this idea and this concept that they would put one plant. You know what, if they have to pay whatever the fee is, let's just say $5,000 to cover our costs to do the work, to inspect and run around making sure that we got the accurate amount. We have to have our goal should not be to collect as many taxes as possible. Our goal should not be to ensure that we have them. Our goal should not be to ensure that we don't waste time. Our goal should be that we are being paid for the work we are asked to do, period.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. All right, my question, I know when we talked about this 25% before, and we just wanted to check in with our tax collector, you're comfortable with the fee and rather than having that?
I mean, pardon me. It's an interesting discussion, and I guess the answer is yes and no. I think we can be comfortable with it either way. I still would have concerns, and to Supervisor Spatier's point, the 1 square foot may be a bit of red herring, but it's not without merit. We've already had those inquiries. We are aware of many sites that grow a very small fraction of what they're allotted. Less than 5 or 10% of what they were permitted to do. So you could have a site with 1 million square feet that's authorized, growing 10,000 square feet or something to that effect. Right now, there's really no limitation, and I think that is where it gets really hard. Yes, one plant is an absurd example, but if someone has a small amount, that's when we deal with all those issues about inversion and trying to track the supply chain. The opt-out program, frankly, is where we've experienced a great deal of misrepresentation. What we believe to be misreporting by people, in many cases intentional. And once you have a certain amount, it's a lot harder for us to track. We have limited tools, we have limited satellite imagery, we have access to metric data, but it's very difficult for us when someone is operating at enough of a level that they're generating, a activity that's sizable. At that activity level, that is where we struggle. There is the ability to move things, outside the guidelines, outside what regulations permit. So I think as long as we allow that situation, that is going to be difficult for our office. That's something that really stretches our resources to the limit, because we are limited in what we can do. So I guess the concern that I would have is that if we're not going to have a minimum required area, one, I think it's appropriate that we assess those fees. But two, in that situation where someone is using only 5% of their area, if they were to opt out completely, after 2 years, they would lose their permit if they just stopped cultivating at all. But how would it be addressed in that situation if year after year, someone is only using that 10%? Are they going to retain their permit with, allotted for the full amount? Whereas if they didn't do that minimum, they would lose it. That just seems a bit incongruous. That's the part that I'm struggling with.
And we did review, I think, Santa Barbara as an example where if you cultivate consistently a portion of what is approved, your use permit after, I think, a 2 to 3 year period gets amended to only be approved for the amount that you have been cultivating.
I think that would
We
satisfy
presented
my
that.
concern.
Right.
I know your office shared that information. I never heard the final resolution. So
Right, the board didn't gain any traction before.
Go ahead.
I was up first. I do think that could be a solution. There would be amending their permit if they chose to only use 5 or 10%. That's all they can do after they do it for 2 years or whatever number of years we determine. I had 2 other things. One of them was dispensary and one was the number of grows. But I would like to sit, I know I've mentioned this, I think it was mentioned at the MAC, not the MAC meeting, but at the planning. The 2050, actually, they pack. I would like to see some kind of maximum on dispensaries, numbering how many we can have in a location or an area, as well as I know that some counties, and it's something whether or not we want to address that, the number of grows that we can have within the county, the number of acreage, the amount of acreage, maximum amount of acreage within the whole county.
Okay, Supervisor Pyska.
Yeah, and I think having the 2-year opt-out and cancellation gets us to a better place where we understand how much cultivation is going to happen in the county, because that's the problem, is that we have got all these permits for really large grows, and they've never activated. So it's really difficult for us to figure that out right now. And so I think that will help us. I really don't like the idea of Santa Barbara because, again, you don't know why the farmer is making these choices. I mean, they could be doing soil remediation. Like, there's a lot of reasons they could be making these choices.
And, it seemed like the reason for that regulation was because they do have a maximum allowed canopy and they have a waiting list. And so if people were permitted and not doing it, that's my understanding.
Okay.
Is that they would give it to somebody else.
That makes sense.
Right.
Okay. And I'm glad that we're having the retail conversation, and I'm good with the minor use permit.
Okay, now I think we're going to Supervisor Sabatier.
Yay.
I might as well leave it up.
I absolutely agree with a limitation, and I think we've had that conversation before, and I'm not sure if that'll be in a successive, ongoing revision of retail, to have a maximum number of stores, or maybe a distance between stores, or a density. I think we've had conversations about what that would look like, but I absolutely agree with that. Just like I don't want to see nothing but cigarette shops or vape shops down the street. I don't want to see a whole bunch of vape shops taking over, which, I mean, I don't think is necessarily happening to that level, but I know there has been some pretty high level concentration in certain areas of the county because that's where they were finding the C2 availabilities, right? But I think that's a healthy thing for a community to limit those types of things. And also it helps those that do have the chance to have a dispensary to be successful. I don't know that I want a maximum on the canopy overall, but I think it is a healthy thing to say, we're over 250. Can we check in at 500 and see where we're at and how things are going? I'm just making up some numbers, but I think to check in and see if it's still yes, or maybe we want to hold back and reel back and create some other, maybe we want to release the October 31st, 2020 date. Maybe we want to make it harsher. I don't know, but I think it's always good to check in and see how it's going, because we're having these discussions because of impacts to the community. And I just want to say, if somebody is playing games with you as far as any reduction or opt-out, what we haven't talked about is the hefty penalties and fines. That's tax evasion. And I think that we should be going after folks who want to play games on tax evasion.
I'm happy to look
I
at
don't
Patrick.
see a smile on Patrick's face when I say that.
That
But
is not CDD.
I just think that we try so hard to be good and try to work with folks that, I'm sorry, but you're just messing with us. You're trying to get one by, and if you're going to try to get one by, then you're going to have to pay. So the fee structure, important, but the penalties that go along with those that aren't being honest, I think is really important as well.
I have a question for Supervisor Sabatier. Minor or major?
I mean, I'm going to stick with what I said. If I can hand out some opioids at a pharmacy with almost zero process, because it's mostly a by right, unless I'm building the building entirely from scratch, there's laws that you have to follow. So to me, it's more important that we have laws that you have to follow, that follow the idea that retail is there. Right now, it just says retail. And that's always bothered me, because I helped build the retail ordinance for the city of Clear Lake, and it was very specific on what is allowed to happen, what is the security measures, and so on and so forth. And here, I mean, there are state laws, so we're basically saying state law, but we're not identifying anything that we would like to see locally to ensure that these retail dispensaries are following what we would like them to do.
So it comes down to our chair.
Yeah, so I hadn't weighed in on that yet, but I think a major use permit is a bit of an overreach for the retail. Again, similar to what Supervisor Sabatier said, it's been my experience that, you know, the bars tend to be more of a problem in what I've seen. I think with a minor use permit, we can still handle and make sure that they're in compliance. I think it has enough in that process to where we can handle it. I just think the major use permit is going a little bit too far on that. That's where I would land based on what I know right now.
If I could also just go over a couple other things to make sure our direction is clear.
Yeah.
Reduced canopy will, going forward, be determined by the permittee. Options for opt-out will remain as is, which is after your state license is granted. You have 2 years. However, I had a couple ideas while you were talking that we're going to look into, and I'll bring them to you for options for opt-out if it's possible.
Can I interrupt real quick? Do you mind, Chair?
Go ahead.
I do want to say that I'm not fully against the Santa Barbara thing, and here's the reason why. Not that we have people lining up in your hallway to get a new license, right? But we look at the cumulative impact when looking at a brand new project based on the full potential of someone's project. And if somebody has 50 million acres that they can do, but they're really only doing one, then we're eliminating other people's right to their properties to do something because we're saying, no, that really sucks up a lot of water, even though they're never using it, but we're gonna use the cumulative impact of the maximum potential of a project to identify how this new project that hasn't been activated would impact the rest of the environment. And so I don't mind this idea of a 2-year or a 3-year, and then you reduce if you've never been doing 100%. I don't know how that works. I'm just saying I don't mind it because it brings us to reality when we're looking at other people's livelihoods who are trying to obtain a permit to do something. And at one point, we have to be real and not say, well, there's this grow over there. Doesn't ever happen, but you can't use water because they use too much already. Like I think we have to find a way to recalibrate so that new projects have a fair chance at getting into a permit.
Vice Chair.
Did you have a response?
Just that since we are putting an overall maximum countywide acreage for canopy as a possible Article 73 idea, I'd be happy to bring back options similar to Santa Barbara's as sort of like a dovetailing aspect to that.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Well, again, I just want to bring up you don't know why the farmer's doing it. And if we're in a period of drought for several years, they're reducing their canopy. If, they want to do regenerative farming and they want to move their crops around from this spot to that spot, that's why they're doing it. We are in a situation where we are holding these growers, if they want to maximize their canopy every year, to monocropping, which is not ideal. So that's why I think I would be really hesitant to do that, because then we're forcing people or we're taking away their options to farm the way that they need to farm. So maybe having a bigger footprint and moving their plots around each year is the better thing for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not fully comfortable, but I'm open to the discussion because there are some other issues, indirect issues from not doing it.
But we're going to be at 20-acre max, so.
That was my next question. To clarify, I've heard we're good with 20 acres. Other supervisors are comfortable with not capping at 20 acres per permittee or per permit.
I don't know if I
Is there
said, but I'm
consensus?
happy with the 20.
Okay,
Fine with
then we'll stay at 20. And then I think that's all I have. Retail will remain at minor use permit for C1 and C2. And in Article 73, did you want me to look at Type 7 volatile manufacturing in M1? We'll just bring that back. So a number of new districts and new types of land uses are included in 73.
Okay.
I have one comment. I think that some of my colleagues are comparing bars to dispensaries. The big difference there is it would probably serve better comparing it to a store that sells alcohol, because at your dispensaries, I don't believe you are using it, right?
No, we
You're
don't
just
have-
purchasing. Where the bars, it's still a substance, but they're actually consuming. So just to get apples to apples rather than
Yeah.
apples to oranges.
Yeah, and I didn't mean any disregard to bars. When I spoke, I was more talking about the permit process that they have to go through to
Right.
get their permit.
Mhm.
Thank you. No,
Was that it?
Unless you know that I've missed anything.
Are you going to be bringing us back any information on maximum canopy just to compare? I know you had mentioned.
I'm going to
some
save
farm-
that for 73 and
Okay.
stay as laser focused on this ordinance as possible so that we can pass it sometime this year.
I had, with what Jess is saying, and I absolutely do think that could be, and I'm one that's kind of soft-hearted as far as you don't know what people are going through in their lives, whether there be an injury or financial or whatever it might be. But we could possibly look at extending that to a 3-year. If you're, instead of a 2-year, a 3-year, just extending it a little bit, well, it'd be 50% before
Let me look
they
into
lost it.
options.
I
All
mean,
of our
that
minor
might
use
be
permits
something
expire
that-
after 2 years of inactivity.
Okay.
So that's already in our code, but let me take a look and I'll see if there's anything
Just a
that
thought.
could, yeah, I appreciate that.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, Nara, one of our public commenters, mentioned the micro business. I just want to put it out there. I know that we added in micro business that if you have a resort, that you can do retail for your guests, not for the general public. That is in our ordinance at this.
Non-cannabis.
Huh?
Non-cannabis, correct. Yeah, that is resort commercial, which is the commercial activity that supports a resort, such as amenities like boat rentals or things like that.
No, there's specific to cannabis micro business that you can have retail as one, because in micro business, I think you can choose 3 out
There's
of 4
3 or 4 different license types.
and that retail was available for resorts if you had a resort for only guest consumption, not for the general public to go out there. And so, and I know
Confirming that,
I
that does not sound familiar to me.
just looked at it. It was passed. And so I just want to highlight that is already available for those that want to utilize that in a resort section. But I would love to see what other opportunities could occur in that same vein as we continue to progress through the concept of the micro business.
I do not see micro business in,
I think it's at state level, right?
No, we passed it locally.
Oh.
yes?
Okay. Anything else?
Sorry, I got so distracted by the beginning of your comment that I actually lost track of your point. Could you just capture that for me again?
I just wanted to highlight that there is something that exists that allows you to use micro business. It is specific to the guests and
I
not
see.
open to the general public. But I just think if a resort wants to be cannabis friendly, that people shouldn't have to leave the resort to come back to the resort. So that's why this was passed, to give it easy access and make it potentially a cannabis friendly type of resort.
That would include a couple other licenses. That explains why we haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
I need to check in with you.
Public comment still open. You do have a hand raised.
No, we closed public comment, so the board would have to reopen, and I don't think we're going to do that at this point.
I think that was regarding my disbelief at it being in the code. That was clarified. Thank you. I was mistaken.
All right.
And just for clarification, this is going to come back to us You're going to double check the red line, that it's redlining the appropriate one.
Certainly.
And
The
come back for
consistency
a first
throughout
reading.
was assumed. Yeah. I just wanted to confirm new points from the board today.
So the first reading will actually occur at the next.
Did we
Whenever
have an
Carolyn
agreement on the maximum on the dispensaries? I think we had a consensus.
Oh,
I'd like to put that in 73 if that's
The
okay.
dispensaries
Yeah.
too?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
because I understood
deal
you were
with
going to
that.
do that with the, okay.
so we'll
yeah.
deal with that separately.
I understood that on.
That'll take
acreage,
some
not
time and thought,
dispensaries.
and you'll have a few different criteria to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think EJ's already maxed out.
So then do we need any, what do we need to do at this point? There's not going to be a first reading today. So-
So I think, if I may. Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
please.
So at this point, your board may consider just continuing this public hearing, this item to a date and time certain, so that the first reading of the ordinance will be continued to that date.
Okay.
And it will be by motion.
So we'll need a motion with a date and time certain. Check with the clerk.
Mr. Chair, I move to continue this public hearing to June 23rd at 11:15 a.m.?
Second.
11 a.m.
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0.
And Mr. Chair, just to again make you aware, I will not be here on that day, but
Correct.
I'm thinking you heard enough from me.
Noted, we have notes.
At what time?
All right.
11 a.m.
At this point, I mean, we still have a lot of work to do in closed. I'm not going to give a report today, but I'll open it up if any supervisors have anything critical they want to mention.
Just vote, go out and vote.
Okay, that's a good report. Anything else? Then we're going to move past that, and I'm going to adjourn or recess back into closed session. Mr. County Counsel, I've already read off earlier. Do I need to read off what we're doing again?
Your board may want to just read the items that are still going to be taken up at closed session as next.
At this point, for the public, I'm going to read off what is still pending in closed session. And that starts with item 8.1. It's a public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1. Interviews for Health Services Director and appointment of Health Services Director. Item 8.2, Public Employee Evaluation, Title Social Services Director. And item 8.3, Public Employee Evaluation, Title Special Districts Administrator. Those are the remaining closed sessions. Is there any public comment on those items before I adjourn into closed session? Not seeing any? Then we are moving into closed, and this will be a full shutdown. Full shutdown, Sam?